Good evening, fellow heretics, and welcome to tonight's show. I am your host, Captain Dadpool.
And I'm Natty Nat.
And over there is Correa. And you are
Hi.
watching Nerds and Heresy.
Hold on to your butts.
All right. Hello, everybody. We don't really have anything planned for tonight.
We'll find out. There's some people that may or may not pop in unexpectedly.
Yeah, there's a few people who said they're going to pop in. But my original guests, I didn't get a response or they canceled on me. So I threw this together at the last minute.
Anton, if you would like to submit questions, just type them into the side and we can talk.
Yeah, we can all see the chat. So if y'all have any questions, that's pretty much what tonight's going to be. Just a casual hangout.
Yeah.
Ask me anything type thing.
Nothing too extreme.
Yeah. And we're just going to
chillax. Cat trying to get into a bag.
Cats dig bags.
Hi, Justice.
I am not used to having cats near me
while
I'm
Justice.
on the show.
Yeah. Okay.
Cats are good people.
Cats are interesting.
That they are.
I'm not a cat person, so
see, I used to not be a cat person, but like I used to be an anti-cat person. Like yeah, like I used to be like it was a very like North Korea, South Korea kind of relationship of like you stay away from me and I'll stay away from you and we're good.
I feel like like the North-South Korea thing is a little more than just stay away type. It's like an active
hello there.
Well, hello. It's an active, like hostile environment.
If you're Egyptian, then yes.
A cat's god? Yes, that's true.
So we got okay, gosh. How does
yeah, it's weird.
There we go.
So weird. Okay. So we got Daddy Pool, Natty Daddy, and Cray Daddy.
Cray.
I don't know if Cray Daddy is what I would go with.
Cray Daddy? You don't know? Because I go with Cray all the time. That's just seems to be the
Cray fits because you're
Cray fits better.
Thanks.
I am working on Archeo Daddy at the moment.
You're working on Archeo Daddy? What's that mean?
To see if I can get him to pop in as well.
Oh yeah, get Morgan in here. Holy shit.
How did you want to here? No, fuck it. I'll text Forrest too and see what they're up to.
Yeah, fuck it too. Oh no, Forrest is on with Matt on the line tonight.
Oh, is he? Oh shit.
I think so.
Damn it, Matt stealing my friends.
I know, right?
If someone can come up with a better version of my name with Daddy, then it doesn't have to be that. I was trying to come up with a like Natty Daddy, you know.
I only have but so many brain cells to spare. As a dad yourself, as a dad yourself, do you agree with the teaching young children about gender identity, sexual orientation, or LGBTQ relationships is badly impressionable and will leave a bad influence on them?
No.
No.
I don't think it's a bad thing. No, and two, like, what examples are there out there of elementary school students being taught these things? Like, is this a normal thing that's being taught in elementary school countrywide?
Right.
So here's what I'll say is there's a difference between teaching kids and indoctrinating kids. If you teach them that, like, you know, like, because I feel like a lot, especially on like the conservative side, they work so hard at indoctrinating kids. So when they hear that we're teaching kids, they're like, oh, you're indoctrinating them.
They use teaching and indoctrinating interchangeably.
Well, I mean, wouldn't you if you were? Well, no, I guess you would have because back in the day, because teaching is not the same as indoctrination.
Yeah, I don't support the don't say gay bill at all. I think it is not only bad, but it is evil.
Yeah, and it's pointless.
I feel you.
There are much more pressing things going on in our country than to deal with this completely fabricated issue.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me is that like I did not discover I was bisexual until I was 30. Like I had to be completely deconstructed from Christianity because all of my examples growing up, all of it was cis heteronormative couples. And, I remember even being 13 and one of my best friends was bi, and she said, do you think that you could be bi? And my mom told her that if she ever tried to convince me I was bi, that she wouldn't be allowed to come over anymore.
Wow.
So this might be a good place to start the conversation. We just had an 18-year-old murder 10 people of color. And
right.
He left a whole racist ass manifesto. You don't see anybody what was his education like? Or was he indoctrinated into this racist system that led him to murder 10 people in cold blood?
It's really
they're
up.
not talking about that. They don't give a shit. To
them,
that kid did them a favor.
Right.
They're not worried about that.
What's really fucked up is the fact that I had to, I wanted to read about this kid, and I wanted to read a bit about what's going on, and I actually had to hunt down articles. Why is that not first thing?
Yeah.
It was in just current events. It wasn't in there.
I haven't heard anything about his parents.
Oh no, of course not. No one wants to talk about parents of the kid. Why would that be a thing?
Oh, because he was a troubled youth. He had a rough childhood. Oh yeah. Probably had a bad day that day, even though it was premeditated and planned months ahead of time.
Right, because
whole fucking manifesto written. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, I wonder if Ash is available. I bet Ash would want to talk.
Ash?
Oh, Ash. Ash is great.
Ash sounds familiar. Who's Ash?
Ash Daddy. They are the ones that are in North Carolina. They're
an artist.
Yeah, they sculpt with glass.
Diana, hi.
Okay, I think
Diana's here. Hey.
Oh, hey, Diana.
Hey, Delacour. Asking if there's anyone else. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize I still have him on my contact list.
Oops.
There's a wild I just won't mention his name. It's okay.
By the way, we're trying to grab different people to jump in the chat or to jump in the show.
Yeah, Diana, if you wanna join, the link is in our group Skype.
Does she know? Is she in the group Skype?
Right. She is in the Skype. Yeah, she's in the. I'm not in the Skype, but she's in the Skype.
She's not in the Skype, but she knows.
Dr. Hellspawn, are you in our Skype or are you? I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Well, I have sent this out to a few people. I'm seeing if Jackson or Norse or Morgan or I sent it to Forrest in case he wants to ditch and join us. To which the available reply was, if you guys are still on when I'm offline, I'll jump in.
Oh God.
It won't be like Star Wars.
You know what?
What's what?
Hey, what's up, Jim? We can get Jim in here.
Jimbo.
Yeah. Jim, you want to join the show?
Jimbo.
Oh, Jim, hi.
Long time no chat, Bubbo. In Skype, I have to work. I'm catching up on
I'll send you the thing.
Send the link in the thing.
On Discord. Sure. I'll send it to you on
Actually, it'd be really interesting.
What do you think about the Anubis question?
So Anton asked earlier that Islam dislikes black dogs, and do you think that is based off of a cultural bias from I don't remember exactly, but from
was it Islam dislike black dogs?
I think it was.
Yeah, it's true.
Scroll back up. Yeah, Islam hates black dogs. Do you think it is rooted perhaps in some sort of hate towards Anubis from the ancient Egyptians?
That's possible.
I think there might be some cultural biases going on, considering that they overlap in location or in locale within religious upbringing. But I don't know if that's the pure reason. Black dogs.
There's no concrete evidence that is the case. But it's entirely possible. It's
possible. I will say black dogs they are found in all sorts of cultures and all sorts of religions. There are some religions, I believe the Celts specifically, Celtic belief that if you see a black dog and you survive and someone else dies, the next time you see a black dog by yourself, you are the one that's going to die.
Jim, I can't find you on Discord.
It's almost like seeing a Grim Reaper.
Ooh.
In a lot of ways.
I mean, just say what Imus has to say when she joins.
Imus, you can explain the dog thing. Oh, that'd be very cool.
Yeah.
Jim,
I can't find you on Discord. What happened?
If Josh wants to join Catholic school, we're a bad time. Wait, what? Oh, wait, why is this? Oh, good Lord. There is like a frozen-y thing. That is not what it says. Yeah, no. Fuck, bring Josh in here. Absolutely. Tell Josh that he is absolutely welcome in the chat. I would love to talk to him.
Yeah.
He has made some crazy, amazing TikToks lately. Super informative, really, really well thought out. I am all for it. Oh, goodness. Why is this?
Hey, Cease. Like to jump in, but I'm so exhausted. If you do one of these again, I'll come in. No problem, man.
Yeah.
We'll probably end up doing another one just because I'm moving. So my schedule, my schedule for the next like 3 weeks is going to be kind of crazy and hectic. And I don't really want to plan any big names because I might not be able to join.
It's fair.
So like next week, I'm pretty sure I won't because I'm supposed to be at a wedding. Yay. It won't be mine, just to clarify.
Oh, yeah, I got a $30 gift card. The problem is everything on there is like,
because that question has popped up a few times whenever I say, hey, I'm going to a wedding.
Hey, if you want to go, it is not. If you want to go shopping, right ahead.
Do it, Rachel. Go shopping at night. That's when all the fun happens. When it's
No,
fun.
I signed up for Jagazis. Got a partnership with a company.
Oh, yes. I signed up for that too. And I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I signed up for a few days ago and got like the $30 gift card. And Rachel just, I guess, going through my emails because she has access to my emails. She was like, oh, you did this thing. And I was like, yeah, if you want to use that, you can go right ahead.
No,
yeah, there's so Jagazis has like a sponsorship with this.
I did it to help out a friend.
Toy company.
Right?
With a what?
With a like sex toy company online.
Yeah.
So like it was like, oh, sign up for this and then you'll get a gift card. And so it's like a electronic $30 gift card that you can use towards different toys. And I'm like, cool, I'm ace.
I mean,
I'll check that out.
It would explain a lot.
That
that makes that comment so much more okay. So earlier this week, Jagazis messaged me and asked me how I was doing, and I was like, "I'm good. How are you doing?" Because of the whole Roe versus Wade bullshit, we were like kind of bitching about it. And then he was just like, "Well, I made a TikTok with like a sponsor thing, and I'd say you should join it, but based off of our previous conversations, I don't think it would work for you." I was like,
it's not for you, dear.
It's not for me. And so I was like, okay. And I never really looked into it. I didn't really think much of it, but now it makes a lot of sense because I had no idea that was what he was referring. I was thinking like, oh yeah, it's like a boxer thing or like I don't know, like some like jock strap something or another. I don't fucking know. And
why would Jagazis have a sponsor for a job?
I don't know. No, I'm just saying when it comes.
I think he reaches out to these companies.
No, they usually reach out to him.
I don't have the parts to do that, so I didn't think it applied, and then it just turns out that it doesn't apply, but for different reasons. Entirely.
I mean, it applies for me because I'm single as fuck. But,
Josh is coming on. Hell yeah, bring him in.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Just waiting for.
Wait, hold on. Oh wait, no, but you have it in the group Skype, so never mind.
People have questions about.
We have questions. Who do we have?
Things like ask them in the chat.
I just got back to PA last night, so I'm still recovering.
Or we'll just keep rambling about random bullshit.
Norse is like, I don't know.
Dude, if Norse comes back on and he starts talking about foreskins again, I'm just gonna like flip a table.
Are you asking why did I message Norse?
Hey, look it is. Hello, dear.
Hi.
Tell us about the black dog thing. I want to hear.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
So this is my understanding based on like me discussing this with like friends who are Muslim. Okay. Oh, that's
I'm
better.
listening.
I had like this crazy reflection in my glasses, but okay.
You're
So, there are something in Islam called najis, which is like things that are like ritually unclean or impure.
Right.
And
Pork, right?
that's like well, kind of. That's a little more like
That's something different.
See,
So that's
this
like
is where I'm
Kind of the same.
pork is not halal, which means like it's not permissible. You can't eat it at all.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like that. Hello.
Hey, Jim.
Hello.
So
Hey guys, how's it going?
these are things that are like ritually unclean, like menstrual blood would be an example. So because there's ritual cleaning associated with like before you pray. If you had like pet a dog or it licked you or something like that, that would be najis. You'd have to perform wudu, which is like ritualistic cleaning, to be pure enough to go in and do your prayer ritual. So a lot of Muslim people choose not to keep dogs in their home because then everything would have to be like ritualistically cleaned every time a dog touched it or licked it or something, which would make their life difficult. But I have known Muslim people who have dogs, they just keep them like in an outside thing that's like heated and cooled, or so they're not in the house. So there's cultural aspects of things that sort of make dogs like they don't like dogs or think they're scary or creepy, which is like separate from like what's Islamic. And what's Islamic is that it's just that the saliva of a dog is najis. So things that they lick or touch have to be ritualistically cleaned. That's
Just some
awesome.
geek guy. Thank you for the super chat.
And also the topic that we were trying to do tonight before we lost our guest.
What are your thoughts on gun reform after the Buffalo shooting and the fact that the Second Amendment says shall not be infringed, which the right uses as a basis against gun reform? So there's a big problem with the way the Second Amendment is written. All right, there's a comma, an infamous comma, right? The right to bear arms shall not be infringed, comma. No, the right to bear arms. Well, help me out here, Jim. The right to bear arms, comma, being a member of a well-regulated militia shall not be infringed. So the debate is the comma relevant or is it not? Can the comma be removed? Whatever. Because the way it's suggesting, and in its proper cultural context, yes, the right, it applies to the militia, not to everyday citizens.
There's it. A well-regulated militia, comma, being necessary to the security of free state, comma, the right to the people to keep and bear arms, comma, shall not be infringed. That's the last comma is the one that's debated.
The right to the people. So like it has well-regulated militia in it, but also has the right to the people in it. And then it says shall not be infringed. So what is it referring to? Is it referring to the well-regulated militia or the rights to the people? That's where the debate stems from.
Yeah, but this is the problem with having a document that is so, well, almost 250 years old being applied to modern day. It's tricky. I know it's supposed to be a living document, but it's supposed to apply like.
Well, if it was actually a living document, it would be updated. Like Thomas Jefferson thought that the Constitution should be updated or revised every 19 years. And that is something that has never happened. And it's because the same people who view the Bible as inerrant and therefore is infallible and cannot be changed and keep trying to apply 2,000 years ago to today are the same people that are doing the same, they're doing the same thing with the Constitution.
Preach.
That just made me laugh. It's a couple hundred years old. I was like, what about the Bible?
Oh yeah, no.
Well, you have to consider like the history of the firearms and the war. Like at the time you had muskets, one-shot musket that took a minute, maybe 30 seconds if you were really good at reloading it. At the time, if you were a soldier or if you were a civilian and you had a home, a soldier could just come into your home. And so you were allowed to have to bear arm in order to protect yourself against a Confederate soldier who would just barge around your home. Like that's what I was written for.
That's not what I've heard about it. But
Charles, do you want to join? I would love it if you would join.
I heard
you haven't met Jim, but you and Jim would have great discussions.
You heard
I don't remember.
Charles Butler is in here. That's James Butler's brother.
Okay.
He's my new boss man.
I don't remember where I
I know Charles. I've spoken to him a couple times.
Yeah,
I don't
he's cute,
remember.
but he's funny.
I don't remember where I read it, but I heard that the Second Amendment was actually a compromise for wealthy slave owners that were worried about a revolt, and they needed something to essentially keep the slaves in line and not like murder them in their sleep, essentially.
I don't think that's
That wasn't the Second Amendment. That was the.
Yeah, I
But
don't think that's accurate.
regardless, you know, something that Andrew has said is that your rights end where someone else's rights begin. They're not.
What I would say
absolute.
is
And so
at the
if
time, like I was saying, they had single shot muskets that you could fire one round every 30 seconds if you were good. They couldn't fire 30 rounds in 10 seconds.
Dadpool, but the question I would ask here is, does the principle of self-defense change? Because if not, the musket argument really holds no water.
I would say it goes beyond self-defense.
I honestly think
if you're worried about a home invasion, why do you
why
need
do you
a
need an
high-capacity
AR-15?
magazine?
Yeah.
It doesn't,
Nothing
why
about
do
a
you
home
need
invasion.
things?
it doesn't matter either way you spin it. Like, I mean, if you were to,
Well, then you should be able to have nukes.
that's what some people make an argument for. The right to self-defense.
I don't like where this turned.
Where is the
That's
law?
exaggeration.
If you're allowed to have 100-round snail mag that can fire every 100 5.56 rounds in less than a minute in your home as self-defense, like what army is going to be invading your home that you're going to need that? That's not
when
realistic.
this was written,
but
there was no
you
police.
can legally own that and maybe, I don't know, go fire it off into a crowd of people and kill as many as you can. That's the more common answer. There's no armies invading homes where they require that kind of firepower. However, people who have that kind of firepower are going out into the streets and killing mass amounts of people. So,
but when this document was written, we didn't have a designated police force. There wasn't a the militia it was almost like a volunteer fire department, but in the case of protecting and serving the peace.
Well, there was it was volunteer fire department.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean. It's like there's like volunteer militia, volunteer fire department, et cetera, et cetera. And the fact that we have established a state and federal police force has kind of ruled this particular amendment. I don't want to say inconsequential, but it has pushed it to its boundaries. Like the amendment itself no longer makes sense in its initial written context.
Okay.
Yeah. Because
the question I posed, and the question still has to be answered is, do you have a right to self-defense? Do you have a right to defend yourself?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe that. I believe that's just a human right to be able to defend yourself.
Okay, so now we're getting over into the mechanisms by which we defend.
Yes and no. I don't think so, because if I, was in a bar and I decided to punch someone, like I don't have the right to just punch somebody.
That's antagonization prior
that's
to.
Not self-defense.
That's assault.
We're talking about
self-defense.
home invasion.
I'm talking about someone deciding to pull a gun on me and steal my wallet. Do I have the right to fight back?
Okay, but in that situation, why do you need an AR-15 to defend yourself?
You don't. So now it turns into a mechanism fight, not necessarily the right to defend yourself. So regardless, you have the right to defend yourself. Now, how you go about that in America, here in America, I would make an argument is that we believe that you should have some kind of tool, right? We'll call it a tool that has a magazine-fed weapon system, or even a lever action weapon system, which is still kind of a magazine, which holds multiple rounds that can fire in succession in a semi-automatic style. So the quantity of ammo is kind of, I don't even know why that would even be a talking point. An AR-15, an AK-47, let's just go with a repeating rifle or a lever action Winchester. Okay, they can still fire rounds in rather quick succession. You just have to reload them a little more often. So again, it just doesn't work. And that's the right to self-defense. That's the base of that one.
So, hold on. Yeah, just some geek guy. I would say the argument for like a militia referring to a general population who owns firearms, no, because the words well regulated are in it. That suggests
Right.
organized, centralized. It's not just any person who owns a firearm. Like the word well regulated is right.
But again, if we're talking about the wording used back in that time,
Right.
the whole concept of a well-regulated militia would be the fire department or something along those lines. It wouldn't be
Or the
a
National
paid
Guard.
profession.
Or National Guard's a great
yes,
example.
There you go.
The National Guard is the state militia.
Right.
Like today, the National Guard is a state militia. Some police, most police forces, some security forces maybe even fall under that bracket.
Well, then you can run into other groups that self-organize themselves into militias as well. I mean, so militia can have still have a wide array of uses.
But that's the problem. Like if you have a white supremacist group who just organizes themselves and they arm themselves and they claim that they're well regulated, like what do you do with that?
I mean, you can have leftist groups that would do the same, like across the board.
Yeah, but how often does that happen?
I think there's a few out there that do organize themselves. I think 1,000 Spears is one of them, or something like that I heard of. So again, you have militias on. You have people who organize themselves into a militia. By any, I mean, it's irrelevant as well.
Yeah. Real quick. So a snail mag I mentioned earlier. If you see like a lot of like videos and video games, at the bottom of their rifle, they'll have a magazine, but it looks like a barrel. Instead of it going straight down and curving forward or just going straight down, it looks like a drum, a barrel. That's called a snail mag. It's because the ammo like spirals kind of like a Tommy gun. And they can hold 50 or 100 rounds.
The SRA, Socialist Rifle Association, instead of the
a typical
NRA.
Magazine will hold 30 rounds, but a snail mag can hold 100 rounds. So if you have an AR-15 with full auto capabilities on it and you have a 100-round snail mag on it, you can fire 100 rounds in 30 seconds, less than.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Charles might need a little encouragement, but he's he says actually he wants to join. So
that'd be great.
Yeah,
we have
encouragement.
A question
on,
from Mikasa. Mikasa.
I want to say Mufasa because that just makes me happy, but I'm gonna do the Mufasa thing, but with Mikasa. Mikasa. I'm enjoying that name. Anyway, what rules would you suggest for an atheist Catholic living arrangement? It is quite a complicated situation and it is quite messy. I also feel like there is no respect for either party's beliefs. Well, that last sentence is telling me exactly what I need to know about the kind of
gears
rules
here.
Yeah, this did switch gears just a little bit, but if there's no mutual respect, then whatever boundaries you set are not going to be followed. It's unfortunately that's the case.
Yeah, there are plenty of couples out there that make it work. Like,
or even roommates.
Seth Andrews' wife is Christian. Dr. Josh
Dr.
Bowen's
Josh's
wife is Christian. Bart Ehrman's wife identifies as a Christian.
I didn't know that. Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. So
weird how these strong atheist men have Christian women behind them.
Yeah, so like there's plenty of examples of people who can make it work. The problem is like if you're the type of Christian who thinks, the whole you can't be unequally yoked with a non-believer verse.
Mm-hmm.
If you apply that to your Christian beliefs, then no, you're not going to believe you can't be married to someone with a different faith.
I don't even know if it's that because they just say living arrangement, so it could just even be like a roommate that is not respecting the beliefs. And like for example, if you're one of those Catholics that believes that all drinking is bad, so therefore like isn't wanting any of it in the house, like that's going to be incompatible for someone who wants to be able to drink.
Your dog wants to make an appearance. I just wanted to let you know that, and they are welcome to make an appearance.
Absolutely.
Come up here. Everyone wants to see you.
We would like to see the dog. Show us the dog.
Yeah. Here.
I saw him come into the room. I'm sorry. I got distracted. My ADHD is like, I'm confused.
Yeah, I figured you're the only atheist. You're
Yeah, I figured.
There's the doggo. There's the doggo. It's a big old doggo. Is
Yeah,
he
that
like
looks about
part?
right.
What is he?
He's a massive Great Dane mix.
Oh my god,
So,
I love him.
I missed.
I love him so much.
Have you heard the sound on TikTok that's just like, people ask me all the time, what breed is your dog? And I tell them he's a 100% purebred good boy.
Oh,
I just do that for you.
It's so true.
this is Timber.
He's so
So,
cute.
okay.
Thank you.
Ah, sorry, I
So
just
going back to our
Yeah.
conversation
Got
about
The arrangement.
gun
Yeah.
ownership and self-defense.
Oh, okay.
right. Let's stick with that.
I was still on the faith marriage situation.
Oh yeah.
Living arrangement. Just
I think
be
it's interesting
mutual
if you want to
respectful.
marry someone that they're not going to spend eternity with. That's kind of interesting. I don't know.
Oh, I
Yeah.
have some background
Well, that
story
was
on
a
that,
roommate
but that wasn't
situation.
the topic we were talking about. So, yeah, let's jump back to the gun thing.
So I would say when it comes to self-defense, and we're talking about a home invasion type situation, you know, what do you need? A good revolver, maybe a shotgun. You wouldn't need an assault rifle with a 3,000 max effective range capabilities. Like you're not trying to pick off targets that are 500 meters away. You're trying to take down somebody who's invaded your home. So why would you need an AR-15 with a full auto capability unless you're expecting a fucking army to come and take your home from you? So
In
like,
which case, why are you expecting an army? And
Yeah.
what have
But
you
the-
done
the-
to expect the army?
the debate then goes to, because I've seen so much of this shit, being in the military, having this debate with other military members who are like gun-toting Republicans, and the debate then goes to, a tyrannical government. Like, you need those to arm yourself against a tyrannical government who's going to come and take your guns from you. I'm like,
You need your guns to keep people from taking your guns? Like,
Norse
yeah,
would
like,
like to
if
let
the
you all
government
know he's
wants
not
to
joining
take your
'cause he's pissed
guns,
off
they're going to
about
take
blue.
your guns. They're taking away reproductive rights for women. Like, if
He's
they want
pissed
to
off
take
about
something
what?
from you, they're fucking going to. You can't stop them.
Right. Yeah.
But
so Josh
They don't
is
need
just
to take away guns from
chilling
us.
out backstage, by the way. He's been
Charles?
drinking absinthe.
Who?
Josh is chilling out backstage.
Oh shit!
Josh!
He's
Hey,
been
there we go.
chilling for a bit.
I had to scroll down on my little feed thing.
You're muted, Josh. Josh, darling, you're muted.
I've just been hanging out backstage behind the curtain.
I
I know.
figured you were drinking absinthe, and I'm a little jealous.
I've never tried absinthe, and I really want to.
Oh my gosh, no. Okay, while I need a pen and paper. I need the name of that goddamn bottle of scotch
Hey,
that I
Eddie.
got from you
Hey, Eddie.
guys when I was there. Eddie. But no, Josh, what was that scotch that you had us try when I was in Atlanta? Where's the paper? Fuck it, I'll text
I'm
it.
trying to remember which one. I drank a lot of scotch in Atlanta.
The very first night at Jeff's house, you brought a bottle, and
Is that the one you gave me?
Yeah, that was the one.
okay,
Yeah,
Smoky
what
Finding
what
Out.
is the name of that
It's like single malt
loveliness?
something.
I'd have to look it up. Lefroy's a lot better. That's what I prefer. which is-
Lefroy, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
LAPH.
whatever you handed me
R.A.
surprised the
R.A.G.
shit out of me, which isn't something that happens very often with any sort of whiskey. So, or scotch for that matter. And
Mhm.
Like a
I
good
was,
surprise, you really
Oh
enjoyed
yeah,
it?
no, like I smelled it and I was like, oh, this is one of those vanilla, like it's gonna be a bitter vanilla taste, and I like it's still like campfire, but like burnt vanilla. I was like, I'm not sober. I drank it and there was no burn, like none, and I was shocked. And it was so smooth. I mean, it just trickled down your throat.
Now I
Happy
wish
smooth.
that I could go back in time
Sorry.
and try this bourbon.
It was good, and I don't
Or
usually
whiskey
like
or what?
whiskey or bourbon type drinks.
Yeah, you're not
but,
a
like,
whiskey
this one was
guy.
good.
Yeah, you're a rum drinker, aren't you?
Yeah, very much so.
Here's what I'm getting. Okay.
Have you ever got a hold of that bamboo rum?
What's that?
Have you ever
I like how
got
we
a hold of that
switched
bamboo
straight
rum?
from guns to booze.
No. I forgot all
Don't
about
be
the
the hand.
conversation.
Don't you know? No,
This
you drink
Guns
booze
and booze,
before
yes,
We
they
will
do
talk
go
about
hand
the
in
guns,
hand.
okay?
Yeah, Eddie, drive and listen. Don't text. Don't text and drive, Eddie, or you'll go to hell.
Yeah, Eddie. Eddie would go to heaven. Let's be real. If there's a heaven,
Eddie's
Eddie
too
would
nice. Yeah, I know. If there was a heaven, Eddie would be
Hey,
in
Justin, want to come hang out with us?
it. Who? Oh,
Justin?
go. Dustin. Now we got. I don't even know how many I can have in here.
I don't know. I think 9 is the limit. So, Josh, we were
No, I'm
talking
not
about
good.
the Second Amendment. We were talking
Yeah,
about
Josh.
the shooting that happened in New York at Buffalo, and we were talking about why the Second Amendment is or is not relevant to today's standards. Any feels?
Your thoughts. Solve this problem for us right
Yeah,
now.
we
I
would
was
we would like the mastery of Josh to solve this in this occasion.
I
at
wish
this
it was
moment.
a thing that could be easily solved. I personally, I guess, should say I don't own any guns. I used to own a lot of guns when I was a conservative Republican Christian before the big
Jim does
conversion.
not like that answer. He's like, no, you need to own a gun.
but I do believe that the Second Amendment itself was written for a completely different time period, for a different situation that did revolve around a militia being needed. I don't think it's as necessary as it was then, but I have no issue with people owning guns as long as they're responsible for it. I'm personally on the edge of things of like there should be a license for them, just like anything else. If you need a license to drive a car that kills however many people a year, you should have a license that has to be renewed for gun safety.
I actually say, like, if you have a license and you're like a respectful, like, you should be allowed. This is probably way
Hold on,
extreme,
real quick. Just some geek guy. If you want to join the panel, just let us know how I can send you the invite.
If you are on Discord, we can
You've
shoot
sent me
you.
enough super chats. I can send. I can
Yeah.
message you
Yeah.
on Twitter.
It's been like your.
You do not need to pay to be on the panel.
Or, yeah, you don't need to pay. Just fucking.
No. I'm actually with Josh on this one though. I don't personally own any guns myself, and this is something that I've actually discussed with James and Charles, because both of them don't like the idea that I won't hold or handle a gun because I am a pacifist. So I will not
You're friends with me
shoot
on
someone
Facebook.
in my own
Okay.
self-defense. And because of that, their question was, do you have a problem with someone else shooting a person in your self-defense? And I said, no, I don't have a problem with that, but I will not take a life personally. And that's a personal preference to me. I just don't want to hold the trigger because I think my mind will, it's one of those things where like, I think my mind is fragile enough that it will shatter in some way if I ever harmed someone that
There it is.
immensely. So for my own well-being, I don't, but that doesn't mean I am against guns as a whole. Like they're fine as long as they are used responsibly.
I was right.
So.
It was a.
That was James, not me. Good point. That was James that was saying that.
Just that I just looked it up, and it is I'm reading this article called the racist historian uncovers the racist roots of the Second Amendment, and is talking about how it was a compromise for the wealthy slave owners that were worried about the slaves revolting and killing them in their sleep. So yeah,
That's my understanding, is it was more along those lines too.
it had nothing to do with self-defense against like your fellow man. It had to do with making sure you could keep the right to own human beings.
Which is not too surprising. I mean, the
Right.
ideas
Oh,
and the
absolutely.
twisting of language evolves as humanity evolves and civilization moves forward. We see the same thing with the Bible in the way that the text is now interpreted differently 2,000 years later as it was when it was originally written. It has nothing to do with modern day society.
Right.
And we see the same thing in our Constitution. We now interpret it in a way that it affects us.
Yeah.
So yeah, obviously guns are evil and we should ban them.
Now, I'm with Captain Deadpool. I was on the military base. I've seen everyone owned a gun. I lived out in the country. Everyone owned a gun. I know guys that had a larger arsenal in their basement than I think that most people have in a city. I know people that sold guns illegally, like throughout the Midwest, and distributed them out and got them from other places and brought them in. Like, and I personally don't.
Stop texting. Stop
And I
texting
personally
and
don't have any issue with people owning guns. I just have no desire for it myself.
Yeah, that's fair. I do think like
I-
having your own arsenal is a little unnecessary, but
I think
if you have the
I
money,
think
I guess.
I support people's right to own a gun, but I think it should be regulated. I think that you should be able to have a license. I think that, if, just like a driver's license, if you abuse it at privilege, then you lose the right to it. I think that there's.
But how would you abuse it? I mean, other than going on like a shooting or something like that, like, how would you abuse your licensing?
I mean, that's a
That's a good
pretty
question.
good big one, but
You're coming up with the idea, and you're perpetually like you're so like what would you? How would you? I guess reprimand somebody in their license to holding a gun.
I mean,
Hey everyone, welcome Geeky Guy to the chat.
What's up, man?
Geeky guy.
Yellow.
Yellow.
How's everyone doing?
We're doing great.
Yeah. And here's what else I'd like to add to that. The Supreme Court already ruled like at least 14 years ago in a 2008 case called DC v. Heller. You guys can look it up for yourselves. And in that case, they did rule that no amendment, not even the second one, is absolute. Even Anthony Scalia, who was one of the most like hardcore Republican conservative Supreme Court justices, even he admitted that the Second Amendment is an absolute.
I remember
love
reading
this
about that a
comment.
while.
No, the whole point of the amendments is to alter and change and move the meaning of the Constitution as time goes and progresses. So it makes sense that that's not a permanent. It's not meant to be a permanent structure. It's meant to be altered as needed. So it makes sense. Yeah, I remember the Heller case. That was interesting.
Jim,
Just
in
getting out
response
the
to
window.
your question, Jim, like I would look at it in the same way that you have to get a driver's license. I mean, you can lose your driver's license for not being able to pass your test to show that you know how to safely operate the vehicle, regardless of you getting into a wreck and having involuntary manslaughter. So we all have to take gun
not
safety
only
tests.
that, but if you drive drunk, you can lose the right. So like there are people that will be cleaning their gun while they're drunk
If I'm
and
not
have it go
mistaken,
off
if
and
you're
like
driving, if you're drinking and you have a gun, you're not supposed to have a gun on you in many states, especially if you have a concealed
Okay.
carry.
Well, you're not
That's
supposed
not
to,
what I
but
was
like,
talking about. I was talking about cleaning your gun while drunk and killing, like we're hurting someone.
I think a better example would be I had a neighbor who was getting on in age, and he had a lot of guns. And there was one time that my dog was outside and she was barking at a squirrel, and he came out and threatened to shoot my dog for no apparent reason. Just like on my side of the fence, wanted to shoot my dog. And that's one of those moments where I was like, some people just don't need guns.
Well, and then like
Well, I
I
had-
love to hear that
The
Brad's
fact
like,
that the gun was
driver's
out,
license-
loaded, and pointed at my dog said enough to me. Like he didn't even have to fire the shot to make it very obvious that he was
So
about to misuse.
I also
the
love
weapon.
like Brad here being like the driver's license is not a confirmed right in the U.S. Constitution. We didn't have cars. Like when the Constitution was created, we did not have vehicles. Like, shut up.
I have a quick story from my time and when I was active duty. I went to my squad leader hosted a big like party one Saturday night. Like smoked a bunch of meat. It was a really good time. And his neighbor came over and asked him to turn the music down. And he was drunk as shit. Not the neighbor, my squad leader who owned the home and set everything up. And like when his neighbor came over and asked us to turn the music down, he went into his cabinet and pulled out a 30-aught shotgun or something. Or no, it was like a double barrel, I think it was. I'm trying to remember now. And he went out and he sat on his porch. And I was like, yeah, what was him? Doctorman. His name was Sergeant Doctorman. I was like, what are you, Sergeant, what are you doing right now? Why are you? He was like, if that fucker comes back, I'm blowing him the fuck away. I was like, really? Because he asked you to turn the music down? You're drunk. Put the fucking gun away. We're having a party. We're having a good time. Turn the music down and carry on.
There should be consequences.
Why are you
for that
trying
shit.
to blow a hole through your neighbor because he
Yeah.
asked you to turn the music down? Like,
actually,
yeah, there's certain people who should not have guns and like that.
And here's something I'd like to add to that. So keep this in mind. I used to have a lot of friends. I don't really talk to them anymore, but they always felt the need. They owned a lot of guns, and they always felt the need to constantly post pictures of themselves carrying assault rifles, carrying AR-15s, just to show how
Yeah.
fucking tough they were. Like, I'm sorry, but if you're the kind of person who constantly has to take pictures just to show how tough you are with guns, then that kind of shows me that you're overcompensating.
I would agree
I mean,
with that.
it's like seeing some random white kid that's not from the inner city throwing up gang signs. I'm just like, I look at them and I'm like, well, you're an idiot. That's just people being dumb.
Yeah,
Well, you guys
like,
were talking about earlier that like people shouldn't be like drunk and handling firearms. I work in like a level 1 trauma hospital, and I see a lot of people. I guess there's these platforms when you go hunting. I've never been hunting before. Does anyone hunt here? I don't know.
Yeah.
So I guess there's some platforms that you can like climb up on to like see better or something.
Yeah. No,
I
they're
can,
like deer stands. Mm-hmm.
Oh, deer stands. Okay, that sounds
There's
great.
deer stands.
I cannot tell you how many young men I have met who went drunk hunting with friends, climbed on one of those and fell off and broke their neck.
No, that so what's very common is they won't be drunk as they go out to hunt, but they will bring a case of beer with them or whiskey or something, and they'll sit on that stand and they'll be cold, and so they'll sit there and sip and sip and sip and it's like wait for a deer to go by.
But you'll be waiting for hours.
Yeah, they'll be waiting for hours, and they'll just keep
walk
drinking,
by.
and they don't have any food, and they just keep drinking. And the thing is, because your body's cold, you know, your brain isn't like noticing that you're kind of sort of getting tipsy, like you're just sitting in a stand just like shivering your ass off because it's cold as fuck. And then as soon as you go to like get up, unbuckle yourself and go down the stand, because some stands require a buckle, like as soon as you turn to get on that ladder, you are fucking tipsy, and like so many people just that's something that's happened a
Your
lot.
neck's good, and then I have to go in there and help them like relearn to swallow, and it's not
right
fun.
Yeah, because a lot of time they have like their gun strapped to the back, and they're they have all sorts of gear on, unless you're like me, who like lowers it down in a basket and then gets off the stand. But
hey guys, here's another topic we can talk about. What are your guys' thoughts on like open carry laws? Like, do you guys think that people should openly carry?
Oh
their
fuck no! That is
Nope.
the stupidest fucking shit.
well, I live in a constitutional carry law. That's what they like to say.
Which is kind of dumb, because there's nothing in the Second Amendment that even says you can carry your arms in public. I mean, sure, it says you can bear your arms, but
Here's what's dumb about it. And I come from Virginia, and they have this here. In Virginia, you can open carry without a permit.
Mhm.
But if you want to conceal carry, you need a permit.
what?
So PE is the same way. If you wouldn't just walk around with a gun strapped to your side like Wild West,
As
you're
long
good.
as it's
Go for it.
As long
But
as
if you want to
showing it.
cover that up with your jacket, then you need to go get a permit.
No, that's
Getting
the
a
same-
permit
I
that's
was
the
is
same
going to
thing
say
here.
that, but then I remembered we share state lines. So
Hey, Ricky.
Yeah.
we live in the same
It's like
law.
growing up in Virginia, you would see like people walk around with like pieces strapped to their side. There was a guy in Chick-fil-A one day. There was a guy in Pennsylvania. When my kids were in daycare, the daycare owner's husband was like worked for the fire department, and he walked into the daycare with a Glock on his side, just walking around the kids with this Glock. I'm like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, that's.
But if he
that's the
covered it up with his jacket, it would suddenly become illegal for him to have.
thing. Yeah,
Where's the
that's-
logic? Fucking show me on the doll where the logic is.
Show me on the
And
doll.
Ricky, and
Where did he touch you? Where was the gun pointed?
And hey, Ricky, there's something I'd also like to add to that. Like, the one talking point I always hear for in support of open carry laws is that, oh, you don't understand, open carry laws are essential to reduce crime rates and reduce violent crime. Like, how? Because the problem with that is the states in the country that have the highest violent crime rates also have open carry laws. So
Oh yeah, no,
it's
you know.
working.
That
Well,
is accurate.
okay, so one of the things that the geek, whatever, I'm just gonna call him geeky guy, said earlier, like he has a little Black Lives Matter mask. This all, and I don't want to say it started, but like it started the ball rolling, like really started the ball rolling in Ferguson, Missouri, when the protests were happening and shit went sideways, and then MSU and Mizzou having their issues, and the next thing you know, it just like started, like everything was getting recorded as far as crime on Black people, and and Missouri is one of those constitutional carry states. And you know what I've noticed is if a man, specifically if a Black man, has a open carry, and he has like a jacket on or anything, a cop will come up to him and say, you are concealed carrying, despite it being very obvious on his side, they'll ask for licenses. They'll ask for like I've never seen a cop go up to a white guy and ask, like, "Do you have a license for that?" It just never happens. It just doesn't.
So 1 second. Peebo Thulu. Great name. I hope I said that right.
Peebo Thulu.
Why does the American mind set seem immediately to go from limit guns straight to don't take my guns? Sorry to be hyperbolic, but it's a slippery slope fallacy. Like, as soon as you try to introduce any sort of gun restriction, background check, etc., they're like, that's it. That is the government coming to take our guns. And once you let them do that, then they're going to come to our door.
Well, they're coming to take our uteruses right now. So, you know.
And Ricky, what I'd like to add to that is the only people who are afraid of background checks are the ones who have something to hide. That's all I'm
exactly fucking right.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
They're like,
fair.
oh, but my 5-year-old can't pass a background check.
This shouldn't
Your
be a
5-year-old doesn't need a
controversial
background
issue.
check, damn it.
Yeah, like
Unless your 5-year-old shot
Don't
you.
have your 5-year-old here.
like, hey, we want to vet you to see if you have any history of domestic violence.
Well, it's
And
just
everyone's
no
like,
fair. My
no, you
wife
shouldn't
made this
do
decision.
that. Why not? Why
Well, it
not?
sounds like you might be violent.
in every other country, you like when it comes to mass shootings, like there's a very specific list. On our country, you have to break it down by state because a long time ago we decided that guns were more important than keeping kids alive. They will sacrifice children to their guns the first school shooting, the entire country should have woken the fuck up.
Yeah, our gun laws aren't very pro-life.
Yeah.
Let's be very clear, because when you say every other country, you're relating to other countries. So which country
Yeah, like
are we talking?
Canada,
European
Germany.
countries? Okay, so
Canada,
European.
yeah.
Denmark.
Anything
We're not throwing in
anything under
Africa
the
or
English
South
Empire is a
America,
whole
we're
other
not doing any of those.
when it comes to
We're
guns.
Bareback.
only going to focus on European and Canada. Let's not forget south of border, Central and South America.
Are we focusing on white specific countries? Because that sounds like we're focusing on white countries if we're talking. About this. I just want to throw that out there. But
Japan has gun control laws, and they don't have anywhere near the.
So there we go. That's a different one. That's let's talk about Japan. I don't know shit about Japan.
They have
Let's
very
talk about
strict
Japan.
laws.
I mean, I could also use China as an example, but
That's a communist country. It's a little different.
So I've been to
We've got a
Japan.
few other baselines there.
I have been to
States
Japan.
you have to cross through.
Yeah,
and,
but then
it
again,
is almost impossible to own a gun there.
well, it's dictatorship. It's obviously they can have guns there.
Yeah, we're under dictatorship.
Yeah, Amos is right. Japan is very difficult to actually own a gun there.
That's true.
It's
It's-
extremely, and so usually when they have some sort of mass attacks, like something, it's usually somebody with a knife
Mm-hmm.
that's running around attacking people who is probably mentally ill.
Oh yeah.
They also
The same thing was happening in London for a while, if I'm not mistaken, as well, right? We saw a rise in knife attacks and blunt object attacks.
Yeah, but
And
here's the
guys
thing, Jim.
been there. It's also like Japan is a tough country to talk about, I think, in comparison to anything because it's a monolith. Like it's
They are their own entity. They are
98%.
definitely, yeah.
It is like 98% Japanese. They do not allow refugees, foreigner, like becoming a citizen there as a foreigner from any country is extremely difficult.
Goddamn gaijin!
Not to mention
Yeah,
the
guys,
size of Japan is like
I,
compared to everywhere else.
I agree.
But like when my husband and I were there, like we were the only not Japanese people there. It was
Okay, so
really
why
wild.
does me saying that there need to be regulations mean that I'm saying remove the rights for all of them? It doesn't mean remove the rights. It means implement regulations for it.
Okay,
It's not
so-
an all or nothing. Sorry, like Brad in the comments is literally doing the slippery slope fallacy.
Jim, I want to address what Jim brought up about knife violence in the UK. I mean, here's the thing, Jim. More people have actually been killed by knives here in the United States than in the UK. I mean, sure, there may have been knife violence in the
So
United
does that make a better argument to ban knives or to regulate knives? We need to license knives.
Well, Jim, here's
mean-
the thing. Guy, here's the thing. If this country
just
wanted,
concealed knives.
Well,
If you have like a
concealed
sword, like a buck knife, just hanging off the side, it's fine.
Well, we
here's the-
peace tie them at conventions, so
Just
saying,
legalize
apply the same
swords
rules.
everywhere.
as long as they're
Everyone
peace
has
tied.
a sword again. Let's do that.
I really like the whole sword idea.
I mean,
Please.
well, Here's
already got mine.
Well, here's the thing, Jim. If the United States does one day have a knife violence problem, the same way you did have a gun violence problem, then we would start to introduce regulations around knives. Because
we already do have regulations.
If
around
someone
knives,
could
though.
go into
We
a
do have
school
regulations on knives.
and
Yeah, we have a
kill
lot.
11 children in like if a student could go into a school and kill 11 children in 2 minutes with a knife, yeah, I'd be saying let's regulate that too.
Yeah. What Courageous said.
True.
So
But,
Eddie just made a joke.
there's always
made a
the
comment in
thing.
here. He said bombs, trucks, knives, poison. I just wanted to make a comment about the poison, just for a second. As a geologist slash, like, you have to understand chemistry. Chemicals are actually well regulated, in the, like, purified chemicals are well regulated. But you're right. You can buy goddamn poison off the shelf, no problem. Like, doesn't matter what age you are. Like, I have seen a kid. And I don't want to say this on the internet because I don't want to give anyone ideas. I have seen chemicals smuggled into schools in water bottles and whatnot with the intent of dumping them on someone's face before.
Usually you just do that with alcohol.
I've heard of that too.
Yeah, well, yeah.
The old vodka in the water bottle trick.
In regards to the,
I'm not talking alcohol.
That for legal reasons
I
I never
about
did.
the IRA for a while too.
For legal reasons, I never did.
in regard to why we like talk about jumping to extremes, though, I think that a lot reflects on Western culture overall. We have a two-party system that talks in extremes. I don't think the majority of Americans actually think in those extremes.
Oh God, no, they don't.
I just think
Oh,
the
I'm
talking
sorry,
piece. I just think that the talking pieces for the government speak in that, and people.
Well, then when legislation's introduced too, we do like to sneak a lot of different things into bills that don't actually have anything to do with what that bill is. On top of that, those are extremes, and so I mean, there's things that are going on. They're not just besides our ability to, or our inability to have polite conversation.
Well, not to mention our
Did you guys hear that there was
extremes, like our left is like everyone else's center.
Can't read your phone, Creo.
I
So
know.
You might want to pull
Kind of
through
a-
so we can
our extreme makes everyone else go, really?
Speaking
Well,
of which, there's a mass shooting today at a church in California.
Oh no, I am shocked.
California? No.
But here's the thing, California is a liberal state, so of course God would forsake it.
Of course.
Okay,
are we back on the heresy side of things? Oh,
Okay, guys, I shouldn't be making a joke about that because people died. So yeah, I shouldn't.
No, it's okay. Unfortunately, we're all sinners here, so
Yeah.
I'm not on purpose.
it just kind of depends on what level of hell you want to make it into.
We're only atheists because we want to sin, right?
Well,
Yeah, that's why.
No, we're atheists because
I'm the
we wanna
only
have sex
non-atheist
with the devil,
here.
let's be honest. That's
That's
the whole
true,
I guess.
Satanist thing. Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good point. That the media uses the extremists and suggests that they are the moderates of each party.
Eddie, where are you getting this from? Because I just quickly Googled it, and
Again, can't read
it
your
is
phone.
By far, handguns,
doing this.
firearms, they cause the most amount of deaths in the United States. By far, it is 12 times
Are
higher.
you checking for mass statistics? Because every statistics I've ever ran into does not show the United States shows high crime in knives, hammers, blunt objects, even
This
fifth
one-
will
this one-
outrank
I feel like those are all things that have something to do with
all of
anger.
the handguns and rifles you have combined.
You know how much energy it takes to stab someone? I just want to throw that out there really quick. Anytime
It takes a
someone's
lot.
Ask
it
my
takes
brother.
a lot of like.
Oof, been there.
Don't ask why
Yeah.
I know this because I have not been in the military.
I
is
just
I
found
do not know
multiple
these things.
sources
But
that
I do.
completely just.
It might be
Right.
because I'm a farm kid and I've had to stab a few things in my life.
And
Right.
for some reason, the U.S. military
I've
still
been
does
stabbed.
bayonet
It
charges.
sucks. It's unfortunate. And it-
And in
Yeah,
West.
You've been
Well, I mean,
stabbed? Where?
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
been stabbed by your
couple
sister,
times.
right? No, your brother.
My
Sister.
brother.
Brother.
No.
I've
You said
actually
multiple
Love your
times?
family.
I was actually stabbed too. Well, it was in high school, and some idiot brought like a butterfly knife to school, and he
I remember
and
playing
he
with
told
butterfly
me
knives
he
in
told
school.
me that he stabbed me by accident. He stabbed me by accident with a butterfly knife. Yes, with
Accident.
quotation marks.
I had a butterfly. I remember playing with my buck knife. I remember playing with my butterfly knives in school. I remember taking them to school and like in the FFA, I'd just sit there and fiddle with them and just cause. And then like 2 years later, they're like, no knives in school, and I was like, I graduated.
But see, I have the coolest knife right here that holds guys. So like,
no, your coolest knife is your sword cane.
Is that like a mini Excalibur?
It's like a mini dice holder sword thing.
I'm gonna need.
I don't know. I like it.
So I can print it at some point.
The coolest knife is right here, y'all.
Yeah, Dadpool has my cane sword right now.
I'm gonna say
he's gonna
you
try
have one,
and fix it.
Norse has the other.
Ricky, no offense, but the blade on that thing kind of looks a little rubbery.
Ricky's knife is
It's
actually
wood.
wooden.
It's wood.
Wooden and spray painted.
But let's be honest, I have the most dangerous weapon.
Oh no, we all have one. There's a pretty knife.
There you go.
This one as well. This
Here's
one will cut the shit
Here's a
out of
fun fact.
I want to like shave with it.
Here's a
you can
fun
shave with
fact.
that.
Oh, let's hear it. Fun fact.
I write Harry Potter fan fiction.
Oh, that would hold on,
Oh, really?
Andrew.
Nerds and Heresy has
that
a
as
great
Sonic
record with
fan
fan
fiction.
fiction.
Is it anything like Sonic fan fiction?
If it's anything like Sonic fan
Sonic
Why
fiction.
do you
Harriet
have
Tubman
Sonic
fan
fan
fiction?
fiction?
Hey, Ricky.
That is still my favorite thing that has happened on the show, by the way.
That was the first time I actually was on the show.
I'm having flashbacks to that.
True.
Wait, what
I'm
happened?
having Vietnam flashbacks, yo.
Vietnam flashbacks of
And sadly, it was the first time I was 100% sober on the show.
Yeah, so
Were you?
Mason
I really wish I had been
Ricky,
drinking for that, but
Yeah,
I
Mason
wasn't.
and Ricky didn't have a guest. They didn't have a guest, so they're like, "Hey, Nat, you want to jump in?" So I did. I jumped in, and I was giggling to myself at the time because I had recently came across a memory on my Facebook of something that had happened when I was in college, and I couldn't stop chuckling because of what it is. And Mason's like, "Why are you keep laughing?" I'm just like, "It's a stupid thing. You don't need to know about it." And he's just like, "No, you keep fucking giggling. What is this?"
No, we
And I
need
was
to
like,
know.
"Okay, well, if you want to know," and I was in college, we like to drunkenly find bad fan fiction and like drink and read it out loud to each other as serious as we possibly could. And Mason's like, "This sounds like a great game. What are you reading?" And I was like, well, back then it was one that was called Sonic. Sonic the Hedgehog.
Anyway, we don't have to rehash that whole thing again.
No, but yeah, the long and short of it is we ended up reading the whole thing on Nerds and Heresy.
Oh, it was
unnecessarily.
It was good times.
It was
Well,
glorious.
it's
Everyone
a-
scroll
it's a
back,
later.
find that episode.
It was
and
on one of our
watch it.
Thursday night specials.
Hey Ricky, can you highlight Brute Facts' comment because he's trying to make an argument that mass stabbings are a thing in China, and he's trying to use that as
I mean, they are. That's all they can get a hold of.
Yeah, but how many people die in those mass stabbings? That's what I'm wondering.
I mean, he
Right.
cited one incident in
I feel
March
like-
2014 where 27 people were killed on a train in China with a knife.
I feel like Eddie should join. Oh, speaking of,
I mean, if you're
I
gonna
just
do
said
a
that.
knife attack,
Eddie's going to
Eddie's
join us in
driving,
15
so he
minutes,
can't.
That train would
so
be
he
a
can
great
explain
idea.
himself. He can explain his comments in 15 minutes when he's home and can jump on. So he's going to
Okay,
join
but
us.
in 2014 that happened.
Right. Like,
So
That's almost 10 years ago, dude.
this is
an
happening
epidemic.
multiple times a year here in the U.S. with a gun.
Yep.
multiple
It's an
times a
epidemic.
month. Multiple
times a month a mass
month.
shooting occurs
We've had
in the U.S. with
so
a gun.
many
And they have been since the
every
40s or
year, and
50s.
we just continue to sacrifice people to guns. We're like, all right, doesn't matter how many hundreds of thousands of people.
What I have an issue with is I remember when I was in high school, they always made a huge deal about school shootings, and
Eddie,
now
I'll send you the link
it's
on
like
Discord.
it's always a side note, and soon enough, it's just not going to be anything. It's just
Well,
going to
because-
be so desensitized
because
to the idea of
especially-
allowing shooters into schools.
The thing, oh man, let's talk about this. How about the fact that when Columbine happened, instead of focusing on the fact that there was a motherfucking school shooting and what can we do to change it, instead they decided to change the whole narrative to, are you willing to die for your faith?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you got? My school said stop wearing trench coats and don't have chains hanging
No,
from your
That
beams.
was what I heard.
Yeah, that's
I
part of
had
it.
all of the
That was what I
all
got
of the
too.
propaganda of like, if it came down, and a school shooter comes in and asks, "Do you believe in God? Are you willing to die for it
That's
right now?"
interesting.
Like training kids to become martyrs instead of trying to stop the murders from happening.
That's literally grooming right there.
Right.
I
That's a good
like this
man.
question.
That's a good
It's-
question
I
there,
love it.
Ricky.
That is a good question. I
Yeah,
gotta think about
I
that
kind of
one.
like this. I have to think about this for a second because actually, there is an opinion that I think everybody here will probably not like.
I know I'm different than all of you.
I already know that there's one thing I might be able to say that it will turn me into an insane person.
Does the
if I ever
opinion
want to run for office,
does the opinion have to be like trivial or what?
I don't know.
I don't know. I'll start. I am very, very aggressively pro death penalty. I am.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I understand the racial inequality within our
Criminal
within the
justice.
prison system. I think that should be fixed. But I think if you're a criminal, if you have legitimately murdered multiple people and have done nothing to contribute to society, and you will have no hope of contributing anything to society in the future, you're fucking. We don't need to waste time on you. If you spend the rest of your life in prison, that's going to cost millions of or hundreds of thousands of dollars, if not millions of dollars.
See, I've
in
heard that that's
taxpayer funds,
propaganda, and that's not
just to
true.
keep you in a cell for the rest of your life. Take them out. There's no reason for that.
Ricky, the one counter argument I can have to that is that you can actually make an argument that spending the rest of your life in a cell is a more miserable punishment than being killed.
That's part of my argument. Yeah,
Sure.
It's like you'd be doing them a mercy by executing them.
Right.
Except for it's on our tax.
Rather
Except
than
for it's
making
on.
them spend 50, 60 years in a cell, like execute them, like put them out of their misery. They want it.
Something.
You want it.
I think I have something, but I'll let other people.
I know I have something, but I'm going to let you guys go. Go ahead.
That picture of Charles that he has on his YouTube is
it's beautiful.
Without barely a beard, and it's really throwing me off.
Oh
I don't
it's
like
throwing
it.
me off a lot too.
So
that
anyone that
not
has
naked?
seen him or met him, you understand.
The
holy
only
crap.
picture that could outdo that one is the picture of James without his beard, and
Blech.
that one is terrifying.
That doesn't exist. He was born with a beard.
It fucking exists, and it is terrifying. No, so
Love you, Charles.
I think, honestly, I think a lot of things would go away. A lot of problems would go away. I think people should have background checks and be licensed in order to have children.
Huh?
That is my super controversial opinion.
I think people should have parenting classes in school that are a requirement to get a diploma. I think it should be part of the curriculum.
Now we're on the right subject. Okay, so the whole thing is, would we have these crazy mass shootings with people that have poor mental health and come from these rough backgrounds if the people that were actually having children came from were actually decent goddamn parents and had the means to raise someone correctly? I'm just saying, and I don't mean this would turn into a classist thing. I can see how this can end up being I can see how it can be construed into something terrible, but the standards need to be out there. I know there's a lot of people I just want kids because that'll make me happy. I don't mean to say that with a Southern accent. I feel bad doing that just now.
No offense taken, honestly.
It's just I do. But having kids to solve your problems is not the way that you should be a parent, and that is one of the biggest things one of the most common reasons why people.
So would you have mandatory vasectomies when the kid turns 10, and then have the reversal whenever he gets?
Yep. You are absolutely on track with my belief.
Just make sure they're numb.
You are on track
make
with
sure
my
it's
opinion.
numb.
It's not. Of course, numbing.
Candace isn't even
it's not supposed to be. It's not going to be painful. It's the idea that man or woman, you are in some way prevented from being able to have kids. And you have to just choose a way to do it. And yes, you have to go through regulations. And then when you want to have kids, you don't necessarily have to be married, but you have to individually, as a person, go through like a psychological standard, have to be licensed in like child development, be licensed in some form of like basic care, have a job, and like be able to maintain like a decent livelihood.
Yeah, because for a long time there, I didn't have a fucking clue what I was doing.
Okay, bye. But yeah, so that's my controversial opinion. Fire away if you need to, but that's
I'm for that.
Anybody else?
I think gun violence will go down. I think knife violence will go down. I think there's going to be a lot of things that would go down if people just came from better backgrounds.
Yeah. Anybody else want to go next, or should I go next? Or
I got one.
Okay, go ahead.
And this will probably speak more to the evangelical crowd than anything else. But the cheeseburger song from VeggieTales sucked. It sucks.
That's so controversial.
I agree with you, Arch, but the belly button one is gold.
That beat was fire.
Belly button was good.
Hairbrush is my jam.
Bald Bunny. Y'all remember Bald Bunny?
Oh God.
Oh God. Oh God. There it is.
Song of the Cebu was the best one. You cannot convince me otherwise.
No, that is
I love my lips.
Oh, lips. Lips is a good one too.
There it is, y'all. That's James without a beard.
All right, naked.
Can I
looks
see
naked.
Can I
It looks like it's wrong.
Don't see that.
Okay, just some geeky guy. What's your controversial?
Okay, this is guys. Hear me out on this. Just hear me out.
All right.
Okay, my controversial belief is we should lower the voting age in this country from 18 years old to 16 years old. And the reason why I say this is because many 16, 17-year-old kids in this country, they work jobs, they can pay taxes, etc. So if they're going to pay taxes to the government, then they should have a right to tell the government how they want their lives to be governed.
So,
No taxation.
I don't disagree with that.
The other one would be that if you're under 18, that you just don't get those taxes taken out. Like, I would be fine with that too.
I think the
That's
IRS
fair.
should. Well,
Yeah, that's fair.
One of the two.
Yeah.
One of the two.
Here's my pushback. If you've seen any of the Fast and Furious movies in theater, you are not allowed to vote. Period.
Oh, come on, Ricky. Come on. That's just.
Oh, man.
That's mine. Nope. You did this to yourself.
I lost my voting right just now.
Okay.
We love Fast and
I
Furious.
I love Fast
I
and
can
Furious.
still vote,
Me
guys.
too.
Like stupid, love it.
Okay,
But you have to get family values. I mean,
If
honestly.
you've seen Fast and Furious
Family.
3 and beyond, if you've seen 1, 2, and
The
Tokyo
first
Drift,
Fast and
you're
Furious
good.
I
But
ever
if you
saw
kept
was
going to
Tokyo
the
Drift,
theater
and
after
I
that
fell
point,
in love.
The only ones
That's the
I've seen
worst
were
one.
the only fast films I've seen were from Fast and Furious 6 and onward, and that's it.
Morgan.
I've only seen number.
crackers at me.
I've only seen number ones. You guys can vote for me for president.
I was gonna say Deadpool, like that would fuck with the voting age thing because nobody under 18 has seen any of the originals. So yeah.
That's fair.
Does anyone else have a really controversial opinion that they would like to share?
Yeah.
I'm afraid to say mine. To be
Mine
No,
might be
do
a-
it.
Mine might be in a
Are you
similar.
kidding me? I just came out with the one I stated is like I could get really like go to China. You like it there. People like
It all
deal
depends on
with
who I want to
healthcare.
piss off.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mine might be in the same boat as Jim's because I'm not an atheist.
So did I, Morgan. I actually saw it when it first came out.
But I'm not an atheist.
Oh my gosh.
I don't believe any gods. I don't believe any gods exist. But I do believe that spirituality is a really important piece of being human, and everyone pursues different avenues of
So
spirituality.
you're like an agnostic atheist.
I'm not even agnostic.
Theist?
I'm maybe
Agnostic theist.
maybe a spiritual
called.
atheist. Because I don't believe in gods, but I do believe that everyone pursues spirituality to find meaning.
Isn't that
in
what
their
it's
life.
called, Jim? The agnostic theist in this case, because you don't believe in a god, or you don't think there's a god.
No. That's still an atheist. You just are also open to spirituality.
Oh, that's fair. Okay.
Yeah, that's
You
true.
can't
I
be
personally-
atheist
I
in
personally-
got one of the boxes.
In a
well,
god.
or you
That's
can believe
it.
in-
That's all it takes to be.
My beliefs fall more within Advaita Vedanta, which means that we're all actually gods. Every human is a
I
piece
love
of
that
God.
theory. Oh, that one's so cool.
That's more
So
where
you're
I
an
fall in.
autotheist?
Yes, I'm an audit.
That's neat.
I mean, Josh. Last time I checked, I didn't flood the entire world because they didn't like me. So
I did.
Well, you just haven't made love to the right woman yet.
Well, I mean, there's also stories of God flooding the entire world because they didn't let him
You
inside
know, I
the
would have
house.
let them all
so-
burn.
I mean,
and then
if
would've
I have
pissed
the
on them.
option,
okay, that
the
is
entire
just
world.
cold, Josh. That is just fucking cold. Come on.
Question for the room. Question for the room. If that is true, what are you all the god of?
Oh, yeah, Josh. What are you the god of?
I have the
wanna
My
perfect
own
know.
answer
life.
for this.
My own
Of
life.
your own
Lex.
life. Oh, okay, that's fair.
I have the perfect answer for this. Hold on. Motherfucker, I'm the DM. The gods themselves are NPCs to me.
Dude, I play D&D 3 times a week.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I just got done.
Oh yeah,
Well said. Well said.
Dustin.
Does anyone
At
else
some
have
point,
a hot take?
I've been meaning to do this, but Dustin, Josh, Dustin. I don't know if you guys met when you were in Atlanta, but
Tanis. I said no one has Dustin on their name.
Sorry, Tanis.
Yeah,
This is my DM, Tanis, and then Josh, which
I've
to
DM'd
get with him at some
half
point,
of
but-
this room.
Can I just say how awkward it is to introduce somebody as your dungeon master to people out in the world?
yeah.
To me, it's not awkward though. Like,
that would be
legitimately
crossing
not
through
awkward.
minds.
That's
It's
like
awkward to
her
everyone
ordering
around
a
me,
DP.
but not to me.
Wait, Dustin,
Being a
what's your
DM is a
controversial
state of
take?
mind.
It
That's
is.
my DM. We
Always
meet once a
drinking a
week. He
DP.
brings pain and torture to my life.
So, Dustin, what's your controversial take?
I already know Justin's controversial take.
What?
I don't know. I'm not gonna say it. I think I know what you're gonna say though.
I don't know. I really don't know.
Oh,
That's
going
really
you know what?
controversial.
You know what?
This controversial take is
Okay.
I will
Disabled
literally
people
kill you
should
and
automatically be able to be invited to.
Why do you gotta go straight to
VIP
disabled
events
people?
At,
Yep.
Hey, counterpoint, Dustin. I do know.
That's interesting because someone asked a
medieval times. That's what I
question
was thinking of.
to you. So the Devil Court said, "So Dadpool, what do
Oh,
you think
here's
about
Abby.
people
Look who it
with
is!
disabilities?"
Oh, you can fit more than 9 people in here.
Yo, what's up?
Oh yeah, eugenics
I
is one
paid
heck
for
of a
the
controversial issue.
premium
That's very true.
Here it is. Here is my controversial opinion.
Go on.
If you have not seen The Princess Bride, your opinion does not matter. Does not matter what the opinion
I had a
is
feeling
about.
we were gonna run up to
Your
that.
I agree
opinion
with
doesn't
That's
matter.
controversial.
Meeting adjourned.
I was like, I
Anyway.
think that
You're a
should just
good man. I hate to kill you. You're a good
we
man.
need to like make an
I hate the
amendment
best.
in the Constitution. Actually, I think this is something everybody can.
And it should be signed. Hello, my name is Inigo Montoya.
And Joe Manchin will block it. Asshole.
Yeah, he will.
Yeah, but Manny Matikan will show up with a rapier. Ha ha!
Yeah,
Mandy
What
was
did we do
is
today?
He's on
Mandy-
TikTok, by the
You
way.
know, Mandy is like super religious, right?
Did not know
I'm
that.
fine with that.
He's Jewish,
very,
right?
He's very
Super.
no, he's very Christian.
Yeah, he's
Hey, Dave.
Hey, Dave.
Oh my God.
Look who it is.
Or not.
Oh my
I think his
gosh.
controversial opinion would be
I
done.
heard
Dave, if you want to join the chat, let
I
me
know
know. I'll send you the
Yeah.
link. We're just
Dave
kind of
has,
hanging out.
Dave has some great controversial opinions. that
I was
love.
waiting for Emus to. Is it
Jim,
Emus?
what's your
Imus to share
controversial
her thing.
opinion?
Yeah,
Oh,
she's just sitting there waiting.
Yeah,
I
she's
need your
Hey,
She's
I
tried to
said
interrupt
mine.
3
Mine
different
was very
times, and no one
difficult
will
to
let her
say.
talk.
Bring it up.
I have a favorite
Oh,
conspiracy
we're not going into conspiracy theories yet. We're going into controversial opinions, and then we'll go to theories.
Yeah,
I'm
those aren't controversial.
You're not getting out of it, Emas. Come on.
Minus.
Oh boy, I have plenty of those conspiracy stuff. So, but go on.
so I think that the Big Bang Theory and evolution are very interesting, but I'm not convinced that that is
That's fair.
adequate explanation.
You're not a Christian, are you?
Mm-mm.
Okay, cool. Guys,
How
I was
are you
gonna
not?
say,
No, wait. How are you not convinced?
Oh,
I mean,
shit.
I understand. I do
Here we
understand.
go.
Like it's not like foolproof,
Here
and I
comes the
get
rock.
that. And there's a lot of science that needs to be done on top of it. But I want to know what is not convincing to you about it.
So my line of work is speech and language. I'm a
Okay.
speech pathologist.
Oh, fucking A. That's amazing. Go on.
Thank you. And evolutionary linguistics is very poor. We don't have a lot of information to describe why the human species is the only species on the planet that demonstrates symbolic use. And people get into like major arguments with me on like TikTok live streams about, well, this species of bird and this species of primate, but none of those things, whatever people are going to come up with, meet the criteria for
Right. Well, that's because
simple
they don't meet the
use.
criteria of being an independent and knowledgeable species.
Have you studied the CCC theory?
Yeah, I was going to mention this.
The conformal cyclic cosmology theory. It was done by Roger Penrose in 2020. He got a Nobel Prize for it, and essentially shows how the universe is eternal and it's multiple big bangs where it's contraction on itself and exploding to create new universes.
Singularities isn't the first and only. It's a ongoing thing. It's like
it's an ongoing process.
It expands to a point where it all comes into another black hole, which expands, and then it comes all. It's almost like a breathing universe, and so and that's something that I do follow as far as that's concerned. Now the proof behind it is well, it's
in development.
It's quantum physics, and it's being developed.
It's in development.
But I can see how that, and I already know. I can hear Ben screaming behind me that I am wrong. I'm a stupid American for believing the system. But Dean, tell me I'm wrong. Like, tell me I'm not wrong. Ben would be pissed off if I was agreeing with this right now.
I'm just grabbing shit.
Damn astrophysicist that he is. But I wish he wasn't in the UK. He would be so great to have right now to talk to. But no, yeah. So that's, as far as that theory goes, it's an amazing one. But I want to know why evolution isn't, hitting all the balls out of the park for you.
I acknowledge that we can like watch certain like features of evolution like happen before our eyes. I mean, like look at the COVID-19, right? And we literally watch that happen.
Mm-hmm.
But because human beings as a species are so distinctly separate from other species in the speech and language realm,
are we?
In terms of speech and language, yes. There's no other species that demonstrate anything that even comes close to this level of symbol use that we have. It just
Dolphins have accents. Did you know that?
That's fine, but that still doesn't meet the criteria.
They also speak different languages.
I would say go watch Renegade Science Teacher. Go watch.
What's your definition of a language?
He describes this stuff like he will make you understand.
Are you talking about Forrest?
Yeah. Renegade Science Teacher on YouTube.
Forrest and I have actually talked about this before, and this is why I'm
he just explains it so well.
So if you were to take a northern Atlantic dolphin and set it inside a tank with a Pacific spinner dolphin, they would not be able to understand each other. Their accents and their language would be completely different. Their clicks, it would be like talking to someone from a different country. And so part of language is part of the concept of language. Our understanding of language is way different than the concept of language as a whole between each species. Because chimps are the same way. Bonobos are the same way. Gorillas are the same way. Now, it just so happens that they live within a similar area, so their language, their understanding between each other is consistent enough, though with different accents. They can somewhat communicate easily with each other. But if you take a chimp that has been raised in a zoo and is multiple generations old in the zoo, and you take it to the wild, is it going to survive?
Nah.
No. And I'm not just talking about it just living and needing a human to take care of it. It will not be able to communicate with the chimps that you take it to live with. So my definition of language is a little bit different than that of a forensic pathologist or a linguist. But in all, it seems like we like to identify ourselves as being so different from the rest of the world's species, when in fact we are not, and that is what drives me up a wall.
I would highly disagree with that.
I knew you would, Eddie.
Real quick, a funny thing. I said that Renegade Science Teacher would be great to talk about. He's live on TikTok talking about evolution.
Oh, son of a bitch! I told him to get on.
Literally right now.
I actually just had this conversation on Clubhouse the other night, and I think communication between animals is not synonymous with language because of the complexity of
I
language.
agree.
So when we look at, linguistics, we can talk about, the phonological, the sounds, the things, the structures of the sounds and things like that. But once we get into, morphological, semantic complexity, syntactics, all of these, almost every linguist or some kind of philosophy of language philosopher that I've read, talk about, quote unquote, the miracle of language, because of the complexity of it, because
Oh yeah,
the
I'm not saying it's not
dialectics and
complex.
well, that's what I'm saying. But not only that, not only is it complex, we structure it. And so when we look at dolphins and things, yes, they are most definitely some of the highest aware, conscious, intelligent beings, along with the bonobos and elephants and
Fucking
other
octopuses.
Fucking
Yeah.
octopuses. Oh my god. And they
Yeah, I
have
forgot
senses of
too.
humor.
Good one. I forgot about the
Octopuses have
octopus.
senses of humor. Did you guys know this? Oh,
It might-
it's just like a
Wait,
random
hold on.
thing.
It might be
I'm telling you some
octopi, but I like saying octopuses.
I like to say octopod because that fucks with everyone.
But I understand what you're saying, Natty, when you talk about we're not so much different than other animals. And I don't necessarily disagree,
But we've
especially if we
also
look.
had the last 10, 15,000 years to develop our senses and to
Right.
civilize ourselves. I'm using that word very loosely here because I don't like to say civilized. I don't like to say primitive. I don't like to say things along those nature because that's like those are like key terms that anthropologists don't like to use.
I mean, obviously we're not civilized yet. Chad still likes the cheeseburger song, so we got a ways to go before we're civilized.
Right.
I wanted to say, is your name Imos? What is it?
Imus.
Imus.
Okay, so
I'm sorry.
I just wanted to say real quick, thank you so much for the job you do. I'm so appreciative for people like you because my mother had 2 severe strokes, and she has severe aphasia, and she's had to work with multiple language pathologists over the years, and not very much success, but the diligence, the time spent in what you guys do. I think a lot of people don't realize the amount of good and help that language pathologists do.
Oh yeah.
Thank you. And
No,
if you
I
want
agree.
any resources, I'll try to message you or something at the end. I can send you some stuff that might be helpful to you.
Absolutely.
I do want to make a comment. Imus, Charles mentioned this, and I didn't really think about it until just now, but you're right. Like Imus is like we've been saying, oh, say a controversial opinion, say a controversial opinion. She said one, and I fucking attacked her for it, and I feel really bad. But I was really curious because it's
well, Natty's gonna nat.
I'm gonna nat. I'm gonna bug.
You're literally
There you
a
go.
scientist,
Someone
so-
put that on a shirt.
I think it's Jim's turn though, so we can attack him instead and take the heat off.
Am
on
I
us.
sure about all these things about animals? I'm sure about quite a few of them and the ongoing research that's out there.
I acknowledge that animals communicate. I just want to make that clear. I'm not saying that.
No.
I just don't think that animal communication, or at least what we understand to be true about animal communication, is in even the same universe as what human beings do to communicate. And the other thing too is and your background is archaeology,
Geoarchaeology, yes.
Okay. So
I do everything from basically the anthropology side of things all the way over to the rock side of things and everything in between. So
based on what I understand about the historical record of written language, right? Because that's really all we have. We don't have audio recordings, right? So we can't talk about
technically we do now, but only because of the invention of audio recordings.
Right.
Like
so
if you want to talk about recent history, but yes.
We can make inferences about how things may have been pronounced. And there's a TikTok creator that does this where he takes really ancient texts.
Oh, I know him. He's I love his stuff.
I can't pronounce his thing. Argram.
He is a wonderful linguist. My god, talented. Holy shit. He could talk to me all day. I'll just sit there and stare at him.
And really, really,
I don't know what
old
he's saying,
English,
but I'm so happy.
Old English, then older English, and then newer.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so cool.
Well, he literally he studies the evolution of language, and it's such an I to say the thing with understanding language is, and people you'll probably yell at me for this, but it is kind of I hate saying a new field, but it's a newly understood and appreciated field. We've studied language as it is, but we've never really thought of language up until like the 1950s. Nobody really thought of language as a constantly evolving and changing, almost living being, in the way that human nature is. And it's only been recently that we've like expanded the ideas like, oh, hey, so this accent, it's not there because of this. It's because 3 generations back, like a chief had a hard time saying this word. And then now everyone pronounces it that way to make him feel better, and like go on and so on.
And before we get too far away from that, I wanted to say first I'm interrupting, so Jim has to wait longer.
Yes, I think we're all waiting. We can all see Jim wants to talk, but I'm not letting it happen yet.
For anybody that's interested in the philosophy of language or linguistics or something like that, which is something I never thought I would be, on YouTube, John Searle actually has his entire lecture series from most of the lectures he gave at UC Berkeley and other places. Now, his personal life, that's a different story, but he is a phenomenal teacher and I would compare his with Chomsky, because Chomsky also has a lot of videos available. Also, they have kind of differing views and take shots at each other over the years, but those two, they're available on YouTube and they are just phenomenal. It's a good way to get started in it.
I'm looking at a Noam Chomsky book right now from my bed. I'm looking at
well, interesting tidbit about Noam Chomsky. This is more wasting time because of Jim. But so Chomsky will, if he goes to a speaking arrangement for anything to do with linguistics or philosophy of language or anything like that, he has a speaking fee like most academics do. But if you invite him to talk about politics, he'll come and do it for free, because he is, I think he's probably more focused on politics today than he is his own profession.
Yeah, sounds like a good way to trick him into doing a free thing about linguistics.
Oh, I've thought about it many times.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, come on my show. We'll do a general interview. We kind of start out politically and then move on into the language stuff. Yeah.
Oh man,
Okay,
I would
Jim,
stay for 5 minutes of that man.
Go.
It's unbelievable.
All right, Jim.
Jim.
To the studio, but we're full. Looks like 12. Oh no, 10.
Yeah.
Who wants to join?
I don't know. It's not telling me. I've never gotten this message.
That's because you're on the cheap tier. You need to upgrade.
No, I'm on the professional plan. The professional plan allows 12
Yeah, I know,
in
I'm
the
just
studio and 10 on screen.
Okay, so there's 10 on screen. That's why
So
they
it's saying
can't join.
someone else is.
I can hop off and let somebody else in.
But I can't even.
Oh
see
no, but
them.
we're talking to you about language. We can't let you go.
That's all right. They can wait.
What do you got, Jim?
Who's probably
just
just
piss
Morgan.
off?
Justin.
That's the
Justin,
question
get
you
out.
really should be asking yourself.
I love you,
What?
Justin.
Okay. So what else do you guys want to talk about?
Jim, what's your
I wanted to know
hot
what Jim
take?
wanted to
The
say.
question is, who do you want me to piss off?
Me. Piss me off.
Does everyone
Everybody.
off?
Actually, I don't know
Piss
how to piss you
everyone
off
off.
other than
You
like,
don't know how to piss me off. That's
rather-
true. Not a lot of people know how to piss
Piss
me
me
off.
off.
I
I can do it.
Excited, but
I'd rather you
I can
piss
piss
us
that
off
off.
than piss on us.
I wish you know where
I think a piss on, honestly.
let's see what you have to say. I'm really curious.
Do your damage.
Ah,
I'm ready.
Shoot your shot.
Roll.
roll
for damage.
That's what
All over the face and the lower back.
I have the magic dice.
Man.
I literally rolled a 1. I'm gonna
Okay.
get.
So I guess from an economics perspective,
Oh,
10's the limit.
economics.
Good to
Oh,
know.
boy. Here we go. Go ahead.
Oh, thanks.
people who claim that the Nazis were not socialist are wrong in more ways than one, because they centralized the government, and they not only centralized the government, but they
This is
created
the opinion thing. Okay.
its own
Hey,
its
Jim.
own what? Go ahead.
So are you going to completely ignore the fact that the Nazis privatized many former state-owned industries such as steel mills?
What
and
year are
concrete-
you looking at?
What?
What year are you looking at? And then the question I'm going to ask, and very bluntly, is: were they under the control of the Nazi Party?
No, they privatized it. They privatized.
Then were they under the control of the Nazi Party? And the answer to that question is yes. We have multiple sources that point that to even the point that Auschwitz, the company out the side of Auschwitz, was owned by a Nazi Party member and answered to the Nazi Party. So yes, centrally planned.
And are you also going to ignore the fact that Hitler also banned Karl Marx's books from being sold in Germany? Because one of the books that they did ban in Germany was Marxist literature.
You want to know why
Marx
he
was a
banned
Jew.
him? Well, hey, you know why he banned him? Because he thought that he got socialism wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And he was Jewish.
And he had a better idea of what socialism was.
And he was Jewish.
Well, yeah, I wasn't going to go down that path, but that's kind of implied. 32, 33, the Weimar removes property rights for labor parties that are sectors. 38, they form into 38, 39, they form into a labor united front. That front is then answers directly to the Nazi Party. Therefore, it's the same thing. It answers directly to it. There's no more differing sectors in labor unions. So fundamentally speaking, it was a socialist plan, centrally planned economy.
But Jim, he didn't let the labor unions themselves independently plan out the businesses. He directly controlled the unions, and besides, he dismantled.
Exactly. So the Nazi Party and Hitler directly controlled the economy, central planning.
No, he didn't allow the labor unions themselves.
They told them who to trade with.
No, because under socialism, it's the workers themselves who dictate the
No,
business.
because then this goes into the next part where socialism and socialists, they only want to rely on that one thing, but they never scale up. They never scale up and tell me what you really think, which is a centrally planned economy where prices are planned, other things are planned, and it's based off the labor theory of value, which we know that by 1890s, it's completely destroyed by the marginalist areas.
I mean, how so? Because the surplus value of makes it clear that
the
owner has to extrapolate people's labor so he can fill his own pockets.
So
he has to extrapolate the labor of his workforce so that he can fill his own pockets. Like for example, if you work in a factory and you produce $60 worth of labor an hour, and your employer only pays you like $10 an hour, then he effectively stole $50 worth of surplus value.
Because it's based off the labor theory of value, and again, it's not correct because in the margins, go check out, especially the Austrian school, because they're going to be the ones who respond directly to this in the 1890s, and they come at it very, very, very well within the margins. It destroys the argument. Because it's a value base, because we don't determine prices by supplier inputs. We determine prices in the exchange between the consumer and the supplier. That's why a bottle of water is not as worth as much value-wise in, say, a rainforest than in the desert.
So on this topic, I quite often hear
controversial opinion.
Yeah, I quite often hear
Hitler
being or Nazi Germany being posed as a fascist, extreme right wing, and then there are those that say no, it was socialist and extreme left wing. Could you put the extremes of socialism and the extremes of fascism and some kind of Venn diagram to where there's going to be similarities between and overlapping of those types of systems? Because it seems like two people that are well educated on it could disagree whether they were fascist or socialist or communist and with these these different experts, it seems like at some point communism, I guess, being the political system and socialism being the financial system.
I mean, they would be one of the same. I wouldn't go down that path, but yeah, go ahead.
Well, okay, yeah. Well, typically, just and I'm
I get what you're saying.
Yeah, this is not my area. But it seems like there are a lot of similarities between the extremes on both ends that one could point at something and say, no, they were fascists. No, they were communist dictators or socialist. Could you put that like on a Venn diagram and have a lot of similarities?
No, because communism and socialism are literally not the same thing.
But you have to get through communism through socialism.
Yeah, sure, but that's like saying that that in order to get the
What every major socialist and communist thinker has said. Sure.
I
mean, okay, but that still doesn't make them the same thing.
No, I'm not.
I never said it was the same thing either.
Well, that's why I was kind of trying to make a distinction between communism and socialism. China is communist, but they have a lot of capital.
No. China isn't communist under the original Marxist definition of communism. They're not communist. They're more like a socialist state than they are communist.
Okay.
Well, that's my controversial viewpoint. And
I got one more.
Good conversation. I'm sorry, it's geeky something,
guy.
right? Geeky guy. Good conversation, bud.
I got another good one.
I mean, I still think you're full of shit, but sure.
I know. You probably think a lot of people are full of shit, so it's okay.
I agree.
The
I agree
Star
with
Wars
you, Jim.
prequels.
A lot of people are
good.
full of shit. That's just it, though. Okay, go ahead. What?
My eyes are brown.
The Star Wars prequels are good.
I mean,
I
that's not really a controversial opinion because my icon is literally Obi-Wan Kenobi. So
yeah.
Hello there.
Well,
That
yeah.
is a controversial opinion.
Controversial it is.
You
Well,
want so many people that don't like them, and I don't understand.
Well, here's my controversial opinion, and that is anything that's not part of the original 70s and 80s Star Wars ain't Star Wars.
Oh, classic.
So the Star Wars Holiday Special is canon. We heard it here, folks.
I got you.
Oh, he got you there, Eddie. He got your ass right there.
Early 80s, late 70s.
Same.
Yeah.
Also in the older section of the Star Wars stuff on Disney Plus, in like the really old section, the animated 2D miniseries of the Clone Wars is in there, and I just feel like that's an attack, and I don't like it.
Is it an Attack of the Clones?
You son of a bitch.
Oh. I do have
But Justin, what would have been really controversial is if you said that The Rise of Skywalker was the greatest Star Wars movie ever made. That would have been controversial.
But it was.
What?
I don't fucking know. I don't do the Star Wars thing.
I don't either. If it's not from the 70s and early 80s, I don't screw with it.
I need to start.
Episode 1 was the best Star Wars movie ever.
I don't really. I
really like it.
Empire Strikes Back.
Stargate is
Original
kind of where I'm
Empire
at.
Strikes Back.
Star
Episode
Wars
1.
is,
Maul.
Oh, it's sickness trying to jump in. That's
yeah, it was sickness that was trying to get in here.
So I got a controversial.
Ricky, do you need us to step out so others can come in?
No. Unless somebody is okay with stepping out. I'm not going to ask anybody to.
I've upset some people in the chat, so I mean I can leave. If,
First
I'm
come,
only
first
staying
serve.
here because
You've only upset one person.
You're
in
fine.
Upsetting
your
people in the
fucking
chat.
show, so they
You're
can
my
get over
co-host.
it.
You don't leave.
You are the
We're in
co-host.
charge now,
You're
Ricky.
loud.
I just feel bad.
Who's loud? Who is loud?
Upsetting people is not a
Am I too
criteria
loud?
for leaving. I don't care
No, I
if you
said
upset
she's
me.
not allowed to leave.
I just.
Well, if
I'm
that was a
excited.
criteria,
I
then she
love
could
that-
never be on the show because she
That's a good
upsets me
point,
all
right?
the time. No, just playing.
Eddie,
Like you're an atheist biologist
I love
or,
that.
or bioarchaeologist. Like you're. If I cared about you accepting people or offending people, I wouldn't.
I wish I was a
fucking have you as my
bioarchaeologist.
co-host.
I would know even more about linguistics if I was a bioarchaeologist. Geoarchaeologist. That's okay.
Well, the cool thing about anthropology,
Eddie?
though, anthropology is
Anthropology
kind
is
of like
anthropology. That's
jack
no,
of all
I
trades.
spread.
So you have to learn so much in anthropology. So it's it covers a lot of different disciplines, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Okay. Oh, dozens, hundreds. Of
Yeah,
disciplines.
that's
It just
yeah.
kind of it's a nice little icing that goes over a lot of disciplines.
Yeah,
Unless
you're like
exposed
the
to
you're
allergies,
like
and
the
it's like,
you're like the maintenance guy at the hotel. He's got to be able to do
Thanks.
plumbing, electrical, swimming pools.
I think mine's mostly like the engineering and like the ground level stuff and like below the dirt.
I got a good question though. At what point do you call in other experts?
Oh, okay. You want to know what point I call in other experts? When I come across a fossil that is not invertebrate.
Ooh.
If I come across a vertebrate fossil, that becomes I need to call a paleontologist.
Yeah, that's a
When
whole
I come
other
across
ballgame.
pottery that
I've
has
learned.
language on it, that's when I go into I need to call in a linguist or a paleolinguist specifically because that's a fun one. When I come across
an example of what we were talking about before, is that we don't like when you look at that was what the question I was going to ask you is that my understanding on the archaeological record in terms of like stuff with language on it, right? We don't really see like this sort of like stepping block or like stratification of language. It's just there. Like you go from nothing to a language system. Yeah. Which again is another, to me, like doesn't mean we won't ever know the answer or that you can't have a like evolutionary viewpoint on linguistics without that. But it's one of the compelling arguments for me to say like there's got to be something else going on there that triggered that. To go from 0 to hero in one fell swoop is just sort of.
I do have one question for you. Do you think, and this is actually something that I've gotten a lot of back and forth on.
Okay.
Do you think that rock art or cave drawings are language, or do you think it's just basic interpretation of outside stamina or not stamina, stimuli?
I think the argument could be made that it is a primitive example of symbol use.
Okay.
But I don't think it's language.
You don't think it's language?
Mm-mm.
See, I always find it fascinating when someone says it is or isn't. And I think it actually, so like if you go, hold on, I got to think of the name of, there's that French cave that has beautiful, beautiful paintings.
Yes.
I know that one.
About, but I can't think of it.
It's something. I always want to say like Lagrange, but that's not it.
I've been to Lagrange though.
A French cave,
right?
With lay something? Nah, too far fetched.
Don't believe shut
it.
up. But
hey, Eddie, what's your controversial take?
Who? Oh, Eddie?
Yeah.
He already did.
He said he had
his controversial take is that I shouldn't be on the show. That's his controversial take.
Yeah, I didn't give my controversial take. I was joking. No, my controversial take.
I will go to the mattresses for Natty Nat, and everyone needs to know it.
I don't even want to know
I was
what
going to
that
say,
means.
Correa, I love her because she will jump into the ring and defend me because I am not someone that will defend myself. I'm not
So will
very good at
Jackson.
that. So will Jackson. And Jackson will get himself in big trouble for it too, because he won't even know why people are upset with me, but he will jump in so fast.
Wait, Natty, why do you think it's language?
So there's Ayers Rock, or down at Uluru in Australia. I think that yeah. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, Nat, it is. Oh, well, okay. So I think that language in the cave drawings in France, the ones that like there's like a 3D image thing on there. Forrest is in the lobby. If Captain Dadpool could like bring him in, that'd be great.
Text him.
Wait, in the lobby? Do you mean like in the waiting area in the back?
Yeah.
Forrest
is going to join us.
Someone has to leave for.
I literally just came in to do the cheeseburger thing, so if y'all need me to make space, that's great. Love you.
Bye.
Y'all take care, guys.
Love you,
I was going to
Arch.
say,
Take
Rolly's.
care.
Rachel's on Nerds and Heresy. Rachel's first appearance on Nerds and Heresy, everybody.
But Uluru
Wait, hold on. This is her very first appearance?
This is historical.
Well, it's not her first appearance. It's her first time putting her full face in the camera by herself.
She doesn't put her full
Only
face
her
in.
half of her face.
It's always like this, yeah. Or like
Perfectly balanced.
She's like, it's still COVID, okay? You
you're
can't see
muted,
her.
Rachel. You're muted.
Yeah, you're muted. We can't hear you.
I can hear that you're trying to talk.
And I'm sure it's far more articulate than Deadpool.
I'm sure.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I'm just-
No, so okay, I must really
She is
quick
the
while
better half,
Forrest
though.
is trying to jump in here. I think that cave drawing can be a language and is a language or is early states of language because I wish I had a freaking pen.
Is there
I
a difference
wanna draw
between
stuff.
communication and language? I think it's
Yes.
communication. The question is it language?
That's true. But it's pretty well known that within Aboriginal peoples in Australia, the understanding that like if you have a bunch of dots in a circle and another line and then a bunch of dots in a circle, that means campsite. And that is the first that's like the first bits of language where you're starting to go, and like they'll show like tracks of different animals, and like it actually tells stories versus this is an animal we hunt.
Well, that
So
yeah.
it's
So
like,
to that point, to kind of bring
back and forth.
bring it back around to the
So-
religious part, because I'm here with all of these heathens. No, that's the thing about Hebrew, is all the fundamentalists and literalists and things, they read these Hebrew writings, which were literally, well, I use that term loosely, which were oral cultures where they painted pictures with words. And so when they started writing and developed the writing system, they didn't just all of a sudden change the way they communicated. They painted pictures with words. It was about the overall picture, not every single little word. They used stories that were available in the culture at the time. There's a lot of mythology there, and for those who don't know, mythology doesn't mean it's all made up. They can and do stem from actual stories, and then you can actually look from the first writings we have of the Hebrew language to 1,000 years later, an evolution of the language itself. But they still kept that imagery. They kept that picture painting that was there.
So
I
Maddie-
mistyped my name.
Is
Hi.
Forrest in the back as well?
Hi.
He should be.
He's not yet.
So
He's not
Maddie,
yet. He
I
just
would
said he
say
was.
When he
that
does, I'm gonna want somebody to.
You won't be able to see him.
Well,
I
it'll-
haven't
it'll-
seen
I would
the
say now we
specific
have 10 people again.
Oh, yeah.
cave drawing that you're
Oh,
talking
shit.
about.
All
Dustin,
right, so
I
someone's
love
gonna
you.
have to take the bullet and back out.
Hey, can I
Should I
shoot
hop
you off?
off?
Thank you, Dustin. I love you.
Bye, Justin.
See,
I
Dusty,
haven't seen the specific
You are the
cave
wiki
drawing you're
star.
talking about, but
I love you, but fuck off.
Well, we've moved far away from the Second Amendment topic, and that was kind of why I was popping on to kind of support some of the things I said.
When are we gonna get to the conspiracy theory part? Because
Well,
So the
I wanted
thing
to say
about
real
gun
quick,
violence in the US,
real quick. I wanted to say, since we've gone so far past that, I don't care to bring that back up. We can have that discussion another day. So I can pop off and let somebody else come in here and talk.
We got room for one more.
And I want to just go on the record and say that I'm not an expert in anything. So
We know
like,
this. You don't have to say that.
I know, but it's just like, when I'm talking about these, like, I'm
No.
just sick of kids dying.
No,
I
I'm with- I'm-
so
well,
fucking sick of kids dying.
I'm with you
and
all
this
the way.
Country acting
till
like
Forrest
that's
gets
just
here.
So
what something we have
understand.
to do.
Yeah, so
Like-
I want you to understand my point of view, because the in the chat it's hard to decipher tone. I am as a Second Amendment supporter, I am very sympathetic to mental health checks, background checks. To me, it is a tool. It's a very dangerous and deadly tool. I think that people should be trained in how to use that tool properly, because I think untrained people are just as dangerous as criminals in public. My riff there is, and I hate to use a slippery slope fallacy, but when government kind of gets their tentacles into things, they never relinquish it. They kind of just move further and further. So where do we draw that line where we have government involvement? Now, I would be more for government involvement at the state level and not federal, because it's something that could be easily changed by changing state officials.
Eddie.
So I'm not against all those things, and every time I see a shooting like that racist piece of shit last night or yesterday, that drove 200 something miles just to kill African Americans. I mean, that disgusts me, and it makes me re-question. I have lots of guns, but I shoot for
You
sport.
don't even know that you have so many guns. Okay?
Well, no.
You
What
got
I'm saying
guns.
is, I shoot
So
for
many
sport.
guns.
I enjoy shooting. And I do carry a firearm on me, but that's because I grew up in a very, very dangerous city. It was a real possibility that I could be mugged, shot, killed, or something like that. But with that said, I'm not this cold-hearted absolutist when it comes to the Second Amendment. I agree with the Supreme Court. I don't think that it is an absolute right, even though it does state, not to infringe upon the rights. I still think we can take common sense measures, to reduce the amount of violence. But let's also put something else into perspective. One, we have the media in our homes, so we see everything that happens on a mass scale all the time. And so with the shootings and things like that, it seems like they happen more than they really do. Any of them's too many, but it's still statistically, they're an anomaly. that doesn't take away from, how tragic they are. So we got to be careful when we, knee jerk to react to certain things and want to go and, kind of just pass these broad sweeping things. Who
is breakdancing?
Yeah, what is
That's
going
not me.
on?
That's not me.
Somebody's typing and
There he is.
but I will finish on. I'll finish on this and I'll go.
Mute
Yeah,
yourself
let
while typing.
Eddie
Gotcha,
finish
okay.
his point.
Yeah, go ahead, Eddie. Finish your
I'll
point,
finish-
Eddie, and then we're gonna go back to evolution.
Rock on. I'll finish on this last point. Cray, when we, we're in the chat and I was, giving these statistics and things, and I'll send you the link later. There are, problems like in China still today, even though the article was 2014. I mean, there's literally a CNN article from the end of last year talking about the problem with stabbings. I think violence is the
I
problem.
don't live in
But
China. I live
at the
here.
same time, hold on. At the same time, when you look
Let him
at
finish.
gun statistics and violence, 53% of gun homicides are suicides. And I think that is something we should be focusing on more, is how do we mental health in this country. I think even though there is pure evil and assholes like the guy yesterday, it's hard for me to say he didn't have some kind of mood disorder or some kind of issue mentally. And I think we need to focus more on mental health in this country than really the tools that are being used by these people
Which is
to
why
exact
only
their
people
crime.
who are licensed
That's such
to
a
have
right-wing
children.
talking point, though.
I'm not
But
right.
the tools. but
I'm
the
not right
tools-
wing at all.
But these tools.
I
are
know
very-
you're not, but that's
It's
a
not.
right-wing.
Wait a minute.
talking
What
point is-
you? Wait a minute. No.
You
Let
never
me
hear
so hold
that
on.
when it came to the riots in Philadelphia. They're looters. They're they're thugs. They're
Oh
gangsters.
no. I was
You don't hear
100%.
like, these young men have rough upbringings. We need to pay attention to their mental health. You don't hear that when it comes to
Well,
those
no,
cases.
that and I
A black guy
actually
gets
agree
gunned
with
down
you.
by a police officer, and they show his mugshot, and like, he was a criminal. They don't talk about how rough of a childhood he had.
Right.
Or
Well,
how-
Deadpool, hold on, real
what
quick.
steps could we have taken towards his to better care for his mental health in order to prevent this? You don't hear that.
Yeah, but
But
real
when it
quick.
comes to a
So
white guy, it's
I
all
think-
about their mental health issues. Like,
I think
And-
you're
and
being.
Eddie, and
I
what
think you're being
also-
dismissive when you say it's a right wing talking point, because this is not anything that I've gotten from anything right wing. This is I'm somebody who has dealt with violence, gun violence, mental health issues throughout my family in my own life. This is something that's near and dear to me. And with people, so with the rioting and stuff, of course I don't condone, damage of property and violence and things like that. But I was 100% in support of Black Lives Matter, the grassroots movement. We went to marches here. My position is not only does it seem as though they're targeting minorities, but even if the minorities think they're being targeted, we need to do something about that perception. And worse than that, people who aren't even on that train, they need to step back and take a look at it. We have agents of the state that are killing its citizens. So we need to question these things. We need to have pushback on this.
Yeah, but you have to understand how all of those are very different than everything. Because I know I just came in here, but I've been listening for a little while. And like all of those things, to speak to Ricky's point, are different, like handled completely differently when you're talking about that than when we're talking about a school shooting or whatever else. Like one of the first things that I heard you say was that, well, if the government gets to decide, what guns we can and can't have, we draw that line. Well, you said that you don't want to use the slippery slope argument, but like, where do we draw the line then on like
right? But don't assume what I meant by that. What I meant
I was paraphrasing. If I misspoke, I apologize.
Yeah, no, because I never made a distinction about what guns we could have, couldn't have, or anything. Real quick, I'll let you finish. My contention was at what point do we say government involvement is enough? I don't know where that is. I don't know if that is restricting certain guns, capacity, stricter background checks. I'm all for any common sense, kind of things. But at the same time, I don't want to eradicate the Constitution.
Eddie, I want to add to what you said.
Hold on. Let Forrest finish.
Sorry, Forrest.
What I wanted. Oh, you're fine. What I just wanted to throw in about that is that that's already a thing. Like, it's not like it would be a new idea to implement these things. We already have rules and regulations on these things. There are certain, like, you can't go buy a tank and drive it down Main Street. That is infringing on your rights, but it's a thing that we already have.
Well,
you can
actually,
legally
you
own
can
a
buy
tank.
a tank. You can buy a tank. You just can't drive it down Main Street.
Right. I'm just saying, like, there's
because but if you buy a tank, you have to get it registered if you want to drive it, right?
No, but I know what you mean. I know what you mean, Forrest.
Yeah, there is a certain point where that already is. Yeah, no, I don't want to get too specific. I'm just saying there already is a certain point where that's a thing. And if we can regulate, like, say, for example, you're talking about testing and training and licensing and all these things, a car has a multitude of purposes, but because it can kill people, you have to prove that you can use it effectively. A gun has exactly one job, which is to kill something over there. And like you might use it for sport shooting, but the design of it is to murder that clay pigeon, right? So we should be able to say, treat this at least as seriously as you would treat a car, is all I'm saying, you know?
And I 100% agree with you. That's why I wanted to kind of caveat, my way into it with, I am not a gun nut. I am not a Second Amendment nut. I think that we absolutely have to have responsible gun ownership. I'm all for prosecuting parents and people who leave guns unsecured, loaded, and things like that, because these are needless tragedies that happen. And I was speaking more about statistically because, earlier we were talking statistically. Well, like I said, 53% of gun violence is suicide. To me, that's alarming because it's violence against their self.
It shouldn't distract, because you're right, that is alarming, but that speaks to a myriad of other issues. And when you try to put them, I'm going to use the word overshadow. I don't think that's what you're trying to do, but like when you use those, they do overshadow the reality of gun violence by saying, okay, well, these other things are happening, when in fact that there's a huge amount of intersectionality as to why those things are happening. There's a myriad of other reasons that go behind that.
That's a fair point. Absolutely. I agree. I mean, I concede that. The only reason that I brought it up, and it does kind of detract in a way, kind of thinking about it, but it's just when people start talking about statistics and they kind of leave that one statistic out, that most of the violence is suicide, self-violence.
Right, but do you think that if we took all of the guns away, people would still be committing suicide at the same rate? Because I do.
I don't know, because I can tell you, as someone who has suffered with depression most of my life and been to the point of contemplating suicide, there's no possible way I could ever stick a knife in me or, take 50 pills or something like that, when you can just take, this tool and it just all of a sudden it's over and done with in the snap of a finger. So I think in a way it may reduce some, but
I don't think it would do it much because.
Well, I don't know if it'd be significant.
The conveniency enables the action.
Yeah, well, there is an argument to be made about the impersonality of guns, because you can shoot from a distance. You can shoot at somebody, and you're not actually feeling what it's like to thrust a knife into them. You're not actually, breaking a bone that you can hear crack when you break it or something like that. So there is an impersonality there, and I think, like in a lot of poor areas, I think that's the thing about it. You just, somebody pisses you off and you just fire a whole bunch of rounds downrange. If you hit them, oh well, you're not there to see, what happens. You're not there to be real, kind of personal with that.
Be right back. I gotta go check on something.
And Eddie, I gotta ask, there are other countries out there that have nowhere near the level of guns we do, and they have much higher suicide rates than us, like South Korea, Iran, Lesotho, Eswatini, etc.
Yeah, that's fair.
I mean, they don't have anywhere near the level of guns per population we do, and they still have high suicide rates. So
that's
you can also, and it also is to your point. Like, it is also important to track the fact that you can plot on a graph. You can do a real simple, like, linear regression showing, like, the amount of guns in the country versus the amount of violence, especially, the violent crime. And yeah, there is a linear trend, undeniably so, that the more guns are available, the more violent crime happens. But also, which is important for what you were saying, America is far above the line of where it should be. It is more violent than we would expect it to be with guns. So yeah, sure, there are issues of society and of mental health and all those things as well.
Well, yeah, and well, to that point, also we also got to think this far into it. You know, there are so many guns available. I mean, millions of guns on the street.
We have more guns than
illegally.
people.
Yeah, if we took all the guns away from law-abiding citizens at this point, it's like I would hate. I mean, I'm not going to speculate as to what would happen, but it seems like, you know, criminals are going to criminal. That's why they're a criminal. You know, they don't abide by the laws. They don't care about permits and all these different things.
But Eddie, there's a problem with what you're saying. But if we were to go by that line of reasoning, then we shouldn't have laws about anything then. Like, why bother having laws against murder if people are just going to murder anyways? Why bother having laws?
No, it's not the same. It's not the same because of what I'm saying is, at this point, if we take with the amount of guns that are available, if we just guns are already illegal to most of the criminals that have them anyway. They're not allowed to have them legally. They don't care about the law. So the only people that's going to follow the law are the law-abiding citizens, and the only people that's going to have guns are those that don't give a shit about the law. And that's my point.
But the law-abiding citizens wouldn't care to then go also through the process of like getting registered. Then it's like it's the exact same thing. To continue on the same example, like, you know, I still have to take care of my car, even though just a little while ago I was just rear-ended by somebody who didn't have a driver's license or insurance. They weren't supposed to be driving, but they did anyway, and there were consequences for it. So just because I follow the law doesn't mean that they're gonna. But we should still have that and still do that, and the law-abiding people should still care. You know?
I don't know, man. I am so with the availability.
I feel like this conversation could keep going forever and ever.
Yeah. I said I was going to leave.
Yeah.
I'll let you guys finish on the last.
I don't want to cut anybody off, but like,
hey,
sorry.
I will.
I'm super excited to be on a live stream with you. I'm a big.
Well, yeah. First, I want to say thank you for letting me kidnap you, Forrest. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're just fine. I don't have long, but I want to hang out for a minute.
No,
it's nice to meet you.
I'm glad I could.
It was a pleasure to meet you too. In case anybody doesn't know me, hi, I'm Forrest. I'm real weird.
He's a renegade science teacher on TikTok and is an absolutely brilliant teacher.
He has a voice. He has a voice and an appearance of somebody that belongs on camera. So,
almost like a young Bill Nye kind of feel, right?
Now he's not a Jim at Meaning Forge kind of guy, but he's close.
I do know who you are. Okay.
Well,
I follow you on TikTok.
Yeah, Sickness. This is the gentleman that I want to bring to the next Atheist convention. Is Forrest.
But real quick, I'm gonna bounce.
Okay, bye, Eddie.
Real quick,
Thank
I'm
you.
gonna bounce off. Anybody that wants to respond to any of the points I made, feel free to. Even though I'm not on here, I'm going to be listening to it. We can talk about it later. I don't want to stymie the conversation just because I'm leaving. But Deadpool, thank you so much for having me on here. And Nat, it was good seeing you again, and Cray and Jim and everybody else I don't know that I met. Y'all have a good evening.
It was a pleasure meeting you and talking to you, man.
Thanks, bud.
Night, Eddie.
I'm heading off too, guys. I got meetings in the morning, so. Thank you, Ricky. Thanks, Ricky. Thanks, Matt. See you guys next time.
We'll talk to you soon.
Did you guys hear those losers?
Have your people call my people.
Nah.
Hey, Forrest.
Who just talked. Get on.
Hey, Forrest.
Yeah.
Just so you know, I'm a big fan of your videos, and some of the information from one of your science videos about evolution actually helped me pass my anthropology test I did last week.
Hey, that's awesome. Congratulations, man.
Amazing.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you being there.
I can 100% say that I am going to probably be spamming liking your videos, just getting caught up because like I recognize you now, but like I'm still,
dude.
You know,
there's still so much that I have to like. Because does spam likes actually hurt content creators, or do they help them?
I don't.
No,
it really hurts small content creators.
Yeah, it probably does with the small ones, but with big creators, it's probably a little bit different.
Hey, Ricky, can you do me a favor and put me at the bottom because it feels kind of awkward.
I'm the only one left.
Because I'm the only one here who doesn't have a camera on, and so I think
I don't know if I can move you.
You
so you would have to remove him.
Well, click on me.
Back on.
I can remove you and then re-add you.
Hey,
You didn't have to do that. You could just click on my icon and just move me around. You'll see.
I can't.
we
I
wanted
tried
to
that.
remove you,
there
son of a bitch. We wanted to.
Random
Just
dance
did it.
party. Let's do it.
I'm gonna
All right,
put,
you-
I'm gonna
all right,
put
you
Forrest
fucked
in
up.
the middle.
Musical chairs.
Wait, am I
Yeah.
done here because I'm
Hey,
the
I'm gonna
youngest?
bounce too.
Probably.
Good to see you again, Daddy.
I'm gonna put Jim in
It's been a long
the
time,
bottom
so.
since he's about to leave.
Bye, Jim.
Bye, guys.
Bye,
See you, Jim.
Great,
Thanks for
great
joining.
conversation
Oh, by the
as
way,
always.
the Nazis
And,
don't learn social despite
you know,
what
I
you're
pop
saying.
into the streams all the time. So
Okay. Bye-bye.
Okay, so now I feel bad because Imus is gone, and I wanted to talk to. I wanted to talk to her about language some more because we were getting into the origins of like evolutionary language building, and I was like getting so freaked out about it because I wanted to talk about it, and like I even
I
found a
think
piece
he's
of
still
paper,
watching.
and God damn it, it's
Actually,
blurry,
yeah,
but-
I was talking. Jagazis and I were talking to her about that, like yesterday, I think, because she's writing a book that has its own language and everything.
Yes.
And she was wanting like queer representation and like non-binary
I wanted to
representation.
talk about this.
Yeah,
This is
Dustin
very
returned it. The
horrible
question is, where are
graph,
you, Morgan?
But
Yeah, where are you?
Morgan?
yeah,
Get in here.
Morgan's building a grill apparently, like a barbecue.
Building
Oh.
a grill.
Building a
Yeah.
grill?
Yeah.
Lame.
All right,
I
that's
know.
not a bad excuse.
No, it's
Okay,
not.
yeah, my husband would like
That's a
that
pretty
too.
good excuse.
Where can we get the shirt?
What a
that
dad
Forrest
thing to do,
Is wearing?
Morgan.
Yeah,
need
I was
the
about
shirt.
to reply to that. Yeah, you can get one. They are at reasonably priced and readily available at valkylabs.com.
Hey, Forrest. So I have a question about evolution that I
In
think.
that case, Morgan, get on here.
Okay. So, Forrest, I have a question about evolution. Says because I'm a science major in college, and one of the course requirements is that I have to study about anthropology and human origins.
Yes.
Dope.
So, okay, and since we now know that us humans shared a common ancestor with chimpanzees, with the Australopiths, like the Australopiths are common ancestors we share with chimpanzees. So here's the thing: if the Australopiths walked upright, now we know that they walked upright like we did, and that aided in their survival, and that made them more advantageous in the wild. Then why did they evolve back into walking on all fours when they evolved into chimpanzees? Like, don't you
Good
think
question.
that?
Your timeline's off.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all.
Yeah.
You have a great question. The problem is you had the wrong thing to start with, and so is that Australopithecines evolved around they've
7 million years ago.
Four to
Morgan's coming on.
2 million years ago, if I remember correctly. Just the last Australopithecines were 2.6 million years old.
Right.
But they went back, I think, almost to 4 million years.
They overlap
common
a
ancestor-
lot of different species, though.
Our
A lot
common
of
ancestor with chimpanzees is around 7 to 9 million years old.
Oh, you mean
So-
Sahelanthropus chidensis?
Yeah, so Sahelanthropus and Orrerin are way, way, way closer in the timeline to our common ancestor with chimpanzees than Australopithecines are. Because between that, you have Ardipithecines, you have Australopithecines are going to split to Paranthropines around the time we come around. You have a million other things in there that aren't even close to chimpanzees at all.
Yeah.
So that's all. It's just the order that you have the things in was wrong.
Timeline's off, but other than that, like you've got the right questions, and that's the type of questions that you're going to want to keep asking.
Yeah,
that's why I
you
wanted.
are on track. Like that is exactly what I want to hear from people whenever they like read this stuff. And they're like,
Daddy
that doesn't make sense.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing. We know that Sahelanthropus walked upright because of because of how the foramen magnum was placed on its skull, right?
Yeah, so Sahelanthropus almost certainly was at least starting to become bipedal because he was, if I remember correctly, about 7 million years ago. And so that one, the foramen magnum is pretty low. I don't think we have much more going on in him because by the time we get to Ardipithecus, which was 4.5 million years ago, if I remember right, you're fucking. This is a test for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say this has been a while since I've
Yeah.
done this.
But the Ardipithecines, like Ardipithecus ramidus, was 4.5 million years ago, if I remember right, and they did have the right foramen magnum. They had the right bichondrial angle of the knee. They had starting to get the right hip shape, but they still had the opposable big toe. And so it was at that point, we were thinking they were probably at the hind end of what we call facilitated bipedalism. So they're walking in the tree, holding a branch above them as well. So it's still bipedal, but you need something to hang on to do it properly. Kind of like toddlers cruising around, So that's probably what we were looking more about with Sahelanthropus and Orrerin, where they were kind of doing this facilitated type of walking, not true bipedalism like you would have with an Australopithecine.
I wouldn't say it's quite like gorilla, but think closer to that than
Okay,
to just,
so I
upright.
now have a
Jimmy,
question about
just
them.
call me. He wasn't here from the beginning of the episode.
Who?
I looked at my college notes, and the Ardipithecines were around 5 to 6 million years ago.
Okay, so my question is, well, one, I have no idea like where we are science-wise, just because this isn't really my area at all.
Okay.
But my question is more related to where I like science was. What were like their social behaviors and such?
Isn't that an awesome question? Oh man. Okay, so we don't know everything.
Welcome to the nerd section of Nerds and Heresy.
There is
You're welcome.
so much discrepancy between, like, at what point did we become like go from like nomadic to being like groups to being like, I mean, it's such an interesting thing. Like, did this happen? Did this change as a social thing, or did this change because we like evolved species? At what point did this become a thing?
Well, we see a lot of like the indicators of social life as far back as, you see that in like Homo erectus and whatnot. Like you see that for millions of years. But you also like, we tend to distinguish, and I bet Morgan's going to be better at this than I am, but like we tend to distinguish between like a band versus a tribe versus a chiefdom versus a state. And this is also just one theory of how to distinguish these things, but this is the one that I think is the most
Civilization
relevant.
5 is a great way to see
Exactly, yeah. And so like when we look at these things, we see these bands of early human things. And so we're going to treat them and their behaviors very differently, even though they are still, behaviors. We're going to treat them very differently and give different meaning to them and then put different theory behind them than like somebody who's living in a identified state with a government and whatnot. You know what I mean?
Well,
so
our own worldview,
even if we have the data, it's really hard to quantify what that data means.
Right. That's why I was like, there's so much that we do and don't know at the same time, because our own personal worldview is how we're going to extrapolate data, and that is going to constantly change what we see and how we relate the patterns that we see. So it's but that's one of the questions, right? Like,
if you really want to get into it, like have fun with it, get into the field of archaeological theory. It will be the most frustrating thing you ever do, and then it will be the most enriching thing you ever do after that.
You'll want to hurt yourself.
Morgan officially wants to cry right now.
No. This is what's going to happen. You're going to start reading it. You're going to be like, wow, these cultures are cool. And then you're going to be like, what the fuck is wrong with us? And then you're going to be like, what is wrong with me? And then you're like, I hate all people. And then, and then you'll be like, but now I need to know why.
Yeah,
I'm already there. I'm gonna be honest. I growing up, I studied mythology for fun because Celtic Christian person. That was the only thing I could really get my hands on. But like I hardcore went in depth with like major ancient civilizations, and I'm at the point where why the fuck are people? But I'm also at the
why
point,
are people?
Well,
I'm also like, I need more.
Yeah, there's a great archaeologist named Matthew Johnson, who's very, very popular and famous, and for good reason. And he described arc theory as putting facts in order. And I love that because it works for science and everything else. It's here's what we know, but if I put it this way, it means something very different than putting it that way. So like, you have the major groups that we usually look at are like cultural historic archaeology, where it's literally just, we know they made pots. We know the pots look like this. That's it. And then you have processual archaeology, which is if I scrape the residue off of this pot, it has these kind of plants in it. And they probably ate these kind of plants because ecologically it was better for the environment to grow it this way and it was more sustainable. And they provided these kind of nutrients. So you're putting the science in there. And then you have post-processual archaeology, which is if I was this dude making this pot eating this plants, I would feel like this. And like, it's very different. Way beyond that, you're getting this phenomenological kind of thing of like, what does it mean to be a human? And that can be deeply enriching and immensely frustrating at the same time.
Oh yeah,
that's why
the deeply frustrating.
Morgan, your thoughts. That's why people can't understand how the Egyptians, or why the Egyptians built the pyramids for one guy.
Yep, that's why I figured you'd be the one to talk about
the idea. That's one of the things that I've pointed out a lot, is that people can't seem to get behind the idea of doing something that was the only way to do something even 200 or 300 years ago. You know,
it was the Illuminati.
Well, but like the idea that I use is the easiest one is I need you to dig a ditch. It needs to be 3 feet wide and 4 feet deep, or 4 feet wide and 3 feet deep.
You missed.
And it needs to be a mile long. Here's a shovel. You have this long to get it done. And everybody that I've ever said that to goes, well, why can't I use a backhoe? Why can't I do this?
You don't have one.
And it's like, you don't have one. This is what you have to do. And people can't seem to understand that, you know, at some point, that's how they did things. The other one is, imagine the world before the internet. You know, how many people...
how many people in this live can remember that? I just want to throw this out here really quick. I'm pretty sure it's down to like 2.
I used to have encyclopedia.
No. Dustin raised his hand. He's younger than me. No, you can't raise your hand.
I feel like this is a great time for me to mention that I am 20.
No, I know. I'm well
boy.
aware of your age, Carolyn.
I'm
well aware.
For protection reasons, I am not going to discuss. I'm not going to say what age I am, but I'll give you guys a hint.
Are you?
I'll give you guys a hint. I'm Gen Z.
Okay, you're Gen Z. That's fine. That's all we need to know is Gen Z versus Dustin's on the cusp of being Gen Z. And, I guess you're technically Gen Z.
No. 93.
93.
So
you are not only a year younger than me. I thought you were younger. Maybe.
Growing up, my mom had a bookshelf full of encyclopedias that were, you know.
I wanted the Encyclopedia
if I wanted to
Britannica
look up anything,
so
I would pull off one of those books and look up.
Okay, I will.
Whatever it is I wanted to learn about. That was my internet. My internet was that bookshelf for like 16 years of my life.
Okay, so I will say this. My mom was hell of crazy, hell of conservative, hell of superstitious. I didn't really have access to the internet until I hit high school. For me, before then, it was just books. But I knew the internet
heard that
existed.
dial-up sound to get the internet work.
Oh, wait, no, I actually have.
Oh, the AOL.
Real quick here. Apparently, my youngest was just outside looking at the lunar eclipse and the stars and stuff.
I guess the lunar eclipse is pretty epic
So,
right now.
I went to check.
Triple blood moon or something like that.
Yeah, Oklahoma's a piece of shit, and it's been raining just now, so it's very, very cloudy. And
that's the only reason.
Oklahoma.
We're in Missouri.
Yeah.
It was like that when I was living there.
Forrest, I got 2 questions for you real quick.
I have 2 answers for you.
The first one is the same thing I asked Morgan a long time ago. Where the fuck do you keep it all? Like,
what?
You just have all of this knowledge on hand.
Mind palace.
Well, one question, you're like, here's 30,000 references for it without trying.
Well,
that's what makes it fun. That's the best part
and
about
it's beautiful
science.
And wonderful to watch.
Well, thank you. That means the world.
Second question. What is the question you wish someone would ask, but no one's asked yet?
Was it the question I asked you like 5 minutes earlier? Or...
Conspiracy theories? Question mark?
Oh, no.
Yeah, we should discuss that.
We're gonna get to that.
Oh no! If we
That was like 2
in-
hours ago.
Are you talking like in this live, like in this stream that nobody's asked, or just in general?
In general.
Conspiracy theories.
What's your favorite
That's a
tooth?
good question. That really is.
I want to know what his favorite tooth is.
That's got
My
me
favorite
thinking now.
tooth. Like
Or any
just period, or like in a
Any
human mouth.
species? No.
Any
a
species?
Specific, do you
like
have
period.
A
This
specific,
one right here. That one.
No, no.
Oh,
no.
fucking like.
Is there one
man?
specimen that you're like, God damn, this tooth could tell me everything?
What's
it
a,
like hypodont teeth?
What's a
are pretty
question
cool.
you could answer, but no one has asked you?
There you go. That's a better way to
Like,
phrase that.
That I could answer, but no one would ask me, or has asked me,
or that no one has asked you.
I'm gonna go into your
I'd have
house
to,
and
like-
ask it. No.
What sucks is that like that's gonna change a lot because like I nerd out about various things. So like at a certain point, if you ask me to explain like why the Lich King is important, I would be all about like it's a but like because I was super into
Tell me
that when
about
I was
Arthas.
young.
Wait, are we talking about D&D Lich King?
No, that's World of
it's
Warcraft.
not. I grew up playing Warcraft, and I got super into it, and then I got sad about it.
Oh, that thing that was before I existed.
That was a
And it
wonderful
was the same
story.
thing. Like when I was showing my fiance all of the Lord of the Rings movies, and she was like, "Oh, that Balrog's pretty cool." I'm like, "You don't understand how the Maiar work, because let's talk about how cool it is."
Let
And
me
like,
explain the fact that Gandalf could look like that too. If he wanted
right?
to.
If he was evil enough to follow Morgoth.
Hey Forrest, hey Forrest, if you want to see an animal with like very weird teeth, look up the sheep's head fish. You can get
I've
seen it.
no.
Yeah, I was gonna say like
Tomatoes.
because they were asking about the teeth, and I was like, "Oh, fucking Paco are crazy, dude." And like, yeah, but, like,
I was
but
gonna say I'm kind of obsessed with parrotfish. I'm not gonna lie.
oh
'cause
god, they're so
it's
dumb.
fucking cool as shit. But also, did anyone see the TikTok that came around? Like, I think it was posted maybe 2 days ago, maybe today. But there's this Australian guy that's like went out and was paddleboarding, and he's just like, check it out, I'm in Australia, this is amazing. Oh look, it's a venomous snake, and in the venomous snake's mouth is a stonefish, and he's like, oh fuck, two of the most deadly things in the world. Eat each other.
Nah, I never saw that. Who watches TikTok?
Australia.
TikTok is dumb.
This is
Nobody
the
watches
most
that.
neurodivergent live stream ever.
See, I'm from the
No one
US's
here
version
is competent.
of Australia. I am from
Florida?
The Florida.
The Florida.
Florida.
No, they're from the most American Australian place in the US.
Exactly.
And also home of the infamous Florida man.
Right.
Florida, man.
So I'm pretty sure you know that
I have a stat block for that in
D&D.
D&D.
I saw that. It was funny. You know that one Florida man meme where he threw a gator into a Wendy's drive-thru?
Yeah.
Pretty sure that happened in
Who hasn't
Jacksonville,
done that?
Florida, and that's
Oh
where I
no,
was.
that happened in Jacksonville. Oh yeah, that one was
Yeah.
one of my favorite ones.
I was
very much enjoyed it.
near that
he-
Wendy's.
Like an
Yeah,
entire
this
gator?
guy went-
A whole gator?
Right up
No,
there
it
with
was like
charity game.
it was like a
Hell yeah. It's right up there.
I don't know. The charity game have a lot more ADHD
Well,
crammed into one
here's the thing: is
screen.
we asked if Patrick wanted to be on the show.
Oh god.
He was busy. It could have been a whole hell of a lot.
I had entirely different plans for tonight's show, but I'm glad they fell through because this has been
This has
fun.
been fun.
This
This has been a lot of fun.
this was a good idea. You should do
Okay,
this,
so
this type of thing.
what-
I'm
once a month.
incredibly,
This panel
I'm
has
incredibly upset with what Kara just put in the fucking chat. Jesus Christ!
Kara was putting that in.
I missed
I
it.
love
Balrog
nerd daddy.
jokes.
What?
Really?
No,
our
when the-
personal chat.
About that's the jingle Balrog. Stop it.
Oh my
Jingle
god.
bells,
no.
How
come
dare.
on, like come on.
No. Okay.
You're making
so,
me make faces, and the humans watching us don't even know.
Hey guys, I gotta ask, is it true that J.R.R. Tolkien was racist? Because I heard rumors that he was racist.
I'm pretty
I
sure,
have
yeah.
no idea.
Yeah,
He's
because
a
guys, I
product
want
of the
you to-
Victorian era.
Guys, I want you to think about this. Gandalf became Gandalf the White by slaying the Balrog, who was black.
Yeah. No, you're on to something.
Now you
It's
see,
a lot
you see,
like it's a lot like I
Gandalf the
think.
Gray. He slayed the Balrog, and they became Gandalf the White.
Right. I imagine it's a lot like what's her face? Rowling, the
Yeah.
Harry Potter
J.K.
thing,
Rowling.
where it's like it sounds like a fantasy magical land until you just look at it a little bit more, you know? Because like in
goblins.
the Harry Potter world, the goblins is exactly what I was going. These short little hook nose things that are good with money, and the only Irish person is like loves blowing things up, and like all the you have all these stereotypes that are kind of woven in there. And you look at
I'm
Middle
a
Earth.
Jewish
Where are the
person,
black
I
people
have
in Middle Earth?
feelings about this.
As a like 3% ethnic Jewish person, I have zero opinions on it because it's not my place.
I'm white and I have opinions on it because I have the
Yeah,
audacity. The
No, my
caucasity
opinion-
was
I'm
my
Jewish,
favorite.
and I-
The cock-
My opinions are the concavity, and my opinions are how dare you be a transphobic. Anyway,
The thing that you're not asking about Gandalf and the Balrog fight, the thing that you're forgetting is that he had the whole party leave so he could steal all of the XP on his own and then show up later as a level 20
That son
while
of a
the rest
bitch.
of them are like level 10.
Right.
And
Oh,
Big
man.
Snap's a king.
He knew what he was doing.
This
He
was, yeah,
knew.
he knew. He fucking
You fucking
He fucking knew.
And guys, but we're not asking the right question. Where was Gandalf when the Westworld fell?
Oh, actually, the question is, where was Gondor when the Westworld fell?
Oh, Gondor! Fuck.
They were actually over in.
This is out of my area.
I don't know.
During that,
we've
they
gone
were in
off the rails.
Osgiliath.
Yeah.
Hey, Heathen Queen, you stepped in at an awkward
Heathen
time.
Queen. Okay, can we finally discuss conspiracy theories?
join.
Okay, so
Why
here's the deal.
conspiracy theories? I don't have whiskey to deal with them.
I thought we were talking about what question do you wish somebody would ask you. But never
Oh fuck, are we still? I can go back to that. Yeah.
I have an answer. I'll give you an answer.
Please do.
My answer, one thing that I could talk about that no one's ever asked me is why Paul quotes Plato's Republic.
Oh, that's a good one though.
Hey, I'm not going to go into it
TikTok
now,
about this now.
but that's one thing. Paul quotes Plato's Republic multiple times, and no one's
Write
ever
that down.
asked me. And I think it's because nobody
visible.
knows
Give me just a minute.
that he does.
Right. For
But
me,
that
not nearly enough people ask me about like different like philosophies a lot, because I always get asked science questions, and that's fine, and sometimes it bleeds over into other things, but like I try occasionally to like weave in like ideas, different philosophies and different ideas into things, and nobody seems to know. Like I made that dumbass video for the Council and the Rogue War on TikTok, and I said in that video, no gods, no masters. And everyone was like, yeah, no gods, no masters, only man. And I'm like, no, when you put that extension on it, you're now talking about objectivism, and objectivism is hot trash. I was talking about anarchy. It's a different theory entirely. Fuck off. So like,
it sounds more like nihilism than it does the anarchy.
And that's another thing, is that nihilism is just buttoned up next to existentialism. And like, I usually talk about cosmic nihilism as my main philosophy, but really what I draw out of it is more of an existentialist philosophy. And I can talk about the points, but like, usually when you talk about existentialism, you lose the nihilism that's more necessary for it. And so like, I try to start from there. And like, I could talk a lot about socialism. I could talk a lot about anarchist theory. I could talk a lot about existentialism and stoicism.
We should have kept Jim in the chat.
Especially when we're talking about early human civilization, I prefer anarchist theory and Marxist theory to talking about like how early human civilizations work. That's my jam. When you're talking about Marxist theory is radical when you're talking about fucking like archaeological theory. It's awesome.
Yes.
And like that's shit that I wish I could talk about more. You know,
without getting too much more into it, Morgan. I'm pointing here, but Morgan, what's the question that? Same thing to you. What's the question that no one's really asked that you wish they would?
Now you're asking me to think. I don't know.
Yeah, how dare I do that without whiskey, right?
It is the same. That question.
No,
what question do you wish people asked you? Constantly changes, just like the question of what is the coolest thing you have ever found. Because every time I think about it, it changes. And you can ask me the question, and then 2.5 minutes later, it will be something else.
That's true.
That's true.
Always.
That's true. I want somebody to ask me specifically on TikTok. I want somebody to go to one of my videos and be like, wait, like you're a liberal or some shit like that. You know what I mean? Especially on my videos where I'm talking about like politics and stuff. I didn't expect you to be an atheist or a liberal or whatever, because that way I can start a video. Like, have I not been abundantly clear and just fucking throw all of my bullshit at them?
I got
finished it.
I
got it.
Hi, Sahi.
The question.
Hey.
Oh my God.
He hasn't been on it a
We
long
haven't
time.
seen you in a while. Hello.
Where have you been, dude?
He'll watch him.
This is my fanboy.
I've seen him on Women Atheists Unload. He'll be like, "Hi."
Oh. I got the comment thrown at me by Luke Caverns.
Oh,
it is the you and I are not working on the site, so maybe we shouldn't talk about it.
Oh, that guy.
And I'm just like, whoa, did you really? I have been waiting for someone to say, there we go. There's the question. I've been waiting for somebody to say that comment to me.
Fair enough.
I'm still
because
waiting for you
it's
to
going
make
to be
a video.
epic tomorrow.
Yeah.
You actually fucking did it.
No, I'm going to do it tomorrow because it's going to be like, welcome to Monday morning. I have my cup of coffee and Mondays are for fuckery.
Have you made sure that you do have coffee available to you tomorrow morning?
Yes.
Okay, I'm just checking. Because you know
I
sometimes
love that
you
you have
don't.
your outrage like scheduled. Like Mondays is fuck around and find out. And then
well, no, that's every day, but Monday just seems to fit the schedule better.
Now I'm looking.
Monday
forward
just hits
to,
harder.
I'm looking forward to the video where you go ahead and talk about how all of your colleagues have said this and this and this and this and this and this and just like keep going about like all the things that we're dismissed for. Simply because like not because of our profession, but because we are a woman in this profession. We are white in this profession.
Woman, yeah.
We wear glasses in this profession. Fuck all. I don't know. It's like, how am I supposed to read? Oh yeah, that was one of my. I haven't told you about this one. Somebody fucking commented on a live. They're like, how are you able to see things in a microscope without your glasses?
That made me think.
Because I take my glasses off to look into my microscope.
Further than the other guy.
So.
And I was like, are you saying I can't do my job because I wear glasses? I'm sorry, what?
So let's hone in the conversation a little bit.
Sorry,
where do we want to go from here?
I just wanted to give you a really quick. I wanted
JSGG wants conspiracy theories. What kind?
Let's do conspiracy theories. Yeah,
They're really crazy.
Be a little bit more Pacific.
I also want to know what Nat's trying to say.
Oh, just Egyptians in the Grand
Hello,
Canyon.
dear.
Are my favorites, so.
Okay.
Heathen
Oh,
queens in
hail
house.
the queen.
So guys,
what up, y'all?
Yeah,
what up,
You know,
fool?
well, subjects. Just kidding.
Can I start up with this, or if you guys want to?
Yeah, start your conspiracy theory.
Before we jump into this, though, really quick, I just wanted to say because I'm probably going to back out soon, because I have shit to do tomorrow morning.
Likewise. Sorry.
So, but I wanted to invite Sickness, Forrest, Josh, and Imus back to discuss language and that little voice in our head that we kind of talked about earlier on, because I want to talk about evolutionary understanding as well as adaptation through time. And I want to put that into the whole concept of conscious and talking to God. And I want to like move throughout like human history.
That's a really good. Yeah, if we want to do a separate show just on that topic.
So that was something I wanted to do because we were talking about it in the private chat, and I just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah.
So I want to throw it at Forrest.
I'll send a reminder for
he wasn't there for the beginning of that chat, but it's there. I don't have a date yet, but it cannot be June 22nd because Imus said she is unavailable. So
we'll
as long
talk.
as we can do other
Have
than
your
that,
people call my people.
So
She is your people.
I am your people.
Oh yeah.
And like on the bright side with that, you have someone who's had a speech impediment like their whole life's gonna be there. So
yeah, this is epic. But anyway, I love you guys. I do. I'm gonna head out though, and I just wanted to make sure that we could schedule that in there. But keep doing what you're doing. Have fun. The co-host is out.
enjoy the dojo.
Bye now.
Bye.
Love you too.
Have a nice night. All right.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Now that she's
Hear
out
that?
of the way, God.
Oh man, now we can at least.
Now we can
actually talk.
have a
Now
serious
let's
conversation.
not,
Now, can I
attack everyone?
because you guys have me to deal
Yeah,
with.
JS, go ahead.
Okay, so the craziest one I've heard so far is as follows. Dr. Anthony Fauci and Bill Gates both created the COVID virus in a lab in Wuhan, China to manufacture a worldwide pandemic so they can create a vaccine that isn't actually a vaccine, but a type of population control agent that will kill you within 2 years after injection so that the world's population will be significantly reduced because Bill Gates said in some out-of-context video somewhere that he believes in population control.
Wait.
Okay, but like, what's the conspiracy theory?
That's straight
this is
facts.
common
What are you
knowledge.
talking
We just
about?
know that. That's of course. Yeah.
That's common knowledge.
Oh,
Noodle.
well, guys, here's the thing.
Noodle.
Here's the thing, guys. The vaccine cannot kill me because, well, I'm already dead inside.
Hey.
I hear that a
how
lot.
you beat it. That's
I
how you
have
beat
heard that shit before, though. It's like the vaccine's meant to kill you. It's like, why would you want to kill off the ones that did what you wanted them to do? Why would you not? If they're supposed to be the free thinkers that don't take the vaccine, those are the ones you want to kill off to get the sheeple in line. What? Why? What? It doesn't make any sense.
Thank you.
No, but you thought about that. So
Right, that's
why
the
none of
problem is
them
that I thought.
A conspiracy theory never seems it cannot cover all of the things it needs to cover.
Infidel, sorry.
It can always be.
We all wish you well, Infidel Noodle. We all wish you well.
I don't know who you are, but you seem like a nice person. I hope you get better soon.
They are.
Infidel Noodle is a
She's
mint.
okay. She's okay.
Is she? Okay, cool.
Every time someone says that the vaccine is going to kill me within 2 years, I'm like, you can't threaten me with a good time. Like
for a good time, for a long time.
Do you have you looked at what's going on
see
around
the
the
bad
world?
side.
Like, fucking sign me up, bitch. Like,
Listen, I can get real dark here.
Get real dark.
Were you
Do
the
it.
one? Were you the one that tweeted where someone was like, what if your mom aborted you? And you were like, can I still take her to get this
I was
done?
like, where can I have that done? Where can I take my mom for
Is
that?
it too late?
Yeah.
You know what? Let me phone up my
No,
mom
I
for
have
the
a
first
really
time in
dark
months.
sense of humor, so you'll have to just hang with me on that.
Oh, that's all right.
No, I forgot what comedian said it, but anyone that wants an abortion, just let them have the kid, and then give the baby to the military, train them up, and eventually something bad will happen, and they'll call you up in 20 years and be like, "Hey, remember that abortion you wanted? Done.
Abortion done.
Done. Dunsky. Yeah.
Like, what makes you
Time
think that,
delay.
like,
comedian
this
did that?
is
That's
the
not
ideal
mine.
spot, right? Like, this place kind of sucks.
Well, we got real dark, didn't we?
We got real dark real quick.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
That's what happens when he.
I wouldn't have it any other
I'm
way.
here for it.
Okay. Here's another one. Well, what are your guys' thoughts on the chemtrail conspiracy theory?
It falls into
I
the
have been
sky.
chewing on that. Somebody asked me about that.
It's right
And I
there.
have
You can
been
see
chewing
them with
on
your
it.
own eyes.
Obviously.
Yeah, but it's not. So here's where the chemtrail thing comes from, because the chemtrail conspiracy starts in the late 90s, and it gets on that one radio show that beams from fucking midnight to 5 in the morning, and all truck drivers are listening to it. It came about because in 1996, I think it was the EPA put out a document in conjunction with the Air Force, because the Air Force was letting the EPA use their airplanes, talking about the negative impacts of silver something. Forrest probably knows what chemical it is.
I don't.
That was
off the top
being
of my
used
head.
in cloud seeding. That was killing fish and aquatic plants because it washes down and gets in the water. So because this is the same reason why they don't use borate anymore for fire suppression.
That might be my
Borate will
husband.
get in the water and kill all the aquatic life. But because the Air Force and the EPA came out with this document and said, "Hey, this is why we're not doing this anymore. This is what we found of this study," because the questions were asked. all the people prone to conspiracy or not trusting the government was like, "Oh, this is a thing." And all of those people in the late 90s were, I'm willing to say, 30 to 50 years old. And one of the things that my mother talks about when she was a kid, and my dad observed when he was a kid, is bug suppression with DDT.
Yeah.
There used to be trucks that would drive down the streets on the East Coast, and they just pump out clouds of DDT to kill all the mosquitoes. Back then, no one knew, no one cared, whatever. And it took time for the health side effects to suddenly show up. There's an association with the DDT and the spraying of pesticides. And then what happens in the 60s to early 70s? Vietnam, Agent Orange. How many soldiers came back literally having been sprayed with shit that's out to kill them?
Yep.
So there's a connection made there between something that actually happened, the DDT bug spraying and the attempts to cloud seed, and Agent Orange, with this notion that the government is out to control you. And every single person that gets a hold of that conspiracy theory, who's the guy that says the stuff turns the frogs gay? Who's he?
Alex Jones.
Right. Yeah. So he grabbed onto it. Somebody grabbed onto it because it was an explanation that if 99.9% of the people who are standing outside, when they see the airplane go by, they don't know what the contrails are. What is it? Is it jet exhaust? Is it? Well, I mean, it's the water vapor off of the wingtips and out of the engines. But I mean, it happened on B-17s during the Second World War before they discovered that DDT killed bugs.
Yeah.
So,
like
but
with all
because
these
it's
things,
something they can point to and say the government said it's bad.
Yeah.
The Air Force was involved. And here's this thing that no one can immediately explain off the top of their head. Again, right when the internet's becoming a thing. That's where the chemtrail thing comes from. Because it's easy to say, I don't understand that, so this must be what it is. And then everybody who has a problem with being lesbian, being gay, being whatever, and they're trying to explain away something that is making them uncomfortable. Society changes continuously, and culture changes continuously, and human identity changes continuously. It's easier to blame something that I don't quite know what it's about than actually acknowledging and changing your behavior or your thought processes on something. So that's where the chemtrails come from.
Hey, remember earlier, Forrest, when I said, where do you put it all? And, I said the same thing about Morgan. Yeah, Exhibit A.
Right, and he makes amazing points because, like, the biggest problem is that, like, there are lots of things that are legitimate to be upset about, and, like, those things don't get attention because it's way more fun to paint these big, scary images out of nothing.
Yes.
Exactly.
And then when you have something like this, and the more people tell you that's not true, the more that confirms that it is, like it's deeply, deeply frustrating. And then it doesn't help. And this is something you touched on when you have talking heads like Alex Jones, who, if he was any dumber, we'd have to water him twice a week. And he's speaking at the level of the people who believe him. And so, like, you're now making this community, this almost church-like situation where you're bringing in, like, everybody in this idea of, like, the more they tell you you're wrong, the more you know that they're actually out to get you and out to change your mind and out to fuck you up, and and they're gonna come against you, and that proves that it's right because I said it would happen and now it's happening. It's very reminiscent of Christianity in that way. It's just, man, there's so many real problems that we could be complaining about, and I wish that all the people who believed that the Earth was flat and that the chemtrails are a thing and that the vaccines I wish those people were at least that upset about the fucking children that we have in dog kennels at the border today. That would be a great place to put that out.
I have one question to ask Forrest, and it's about the vaccine. You don't mind? Okay, so I was arguing with an anti-vaxxer earlier today, and we were arguing about natural immunity. And he tried to argue that natural immunity was more effective against COVID. And when I asked him for proof of this, he sent me a link to. Ricky, do you mind sharing my screen?
Yeah.
I swear to God, if you fuck with us and put meat spin up here, I'm gonna lose it.
Okay, so he sent me a link. He sent me a link to this study that was published from Israel that found that SARS-CoV was like 27% stronger against COVID.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, have you heard of this study? Because
I've heard of things like this, and generally speaking, what happens with popular science writing like this is people take the headline and they don't actually read the article says, or they don't actually read the study behind it. When people talk about how natural immunity is better, what you have to remember is, number one, when we talk about immunity, there is the innate immunity, things that you just can't catch. Then there's natural immunity, which is your body developing a resistance to this thing. And then there's artificial immunity, which is what you get from, like, vaccination and whatnot. Artificial immunity and natural immunity function the same way. They're classified differently based on how you develop them. So with natural immunity, you are exposed to the virus, you fight off the viral infection, and now you have the antibodies for it. With artificial immunity, you are exposed to an inert version of the virus, a piece of the virus, a dead or weakened form of the virus, some DNA from the virus that can turn into whatever the system is, and then your body is able to function against that. So, like, for example, with the RNA vaccines, what they do is they give you a little piece of mRNA from the virus that develops a spike protein. Your body identifies the spike protein as a foreign body. and then you develop antibodies against it. So now when the actual virus comes in, you can fight it off. In order to get the natural immunity that these people are talking about, they have to first get very sick and hopefully survive. And then you only got one version of this virus. There is lots of them, and vaccines have consistently been shown to give you longer lived, more robust immunity that covers more different types of infections. Whereas with natural immunity, so to speak, we don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know what all it's going to cover. We don't know how comprehensive this immunity is, whether it's going to bring in everything else. And so vaccination is more stable, more trackable. That's why in that says vaccination is still essential, because vaccines are still something that is so stable and predictable and reliable. Natural immunity, sure, is going to give you some immunity, but that's if you fucking survive and if you don't have long COVID, if you don't have the long hauler syndrome, if you don't have all of these other life-changing problems with it, if you aren't taking up a hospital bed that somebody else needed for a few days. That's the biggest problem right now, is that, lots of people are surviving COVID after they're in the hospital for weeks and months. And meantime, all the people who have heart attacks, all the people who get into a car wreck, all the people who are, having diabetic emergencies, those people aren't getting the help that they need, and those people are dying because your dumbass is in there taking up the hospital bed for COVID. So if this is the same thing as when we talked about the chemtrails, these people who think that they are smarter than every doctor and every scientist in the world, and just on this one issue, because I guarantee those same people who say, oh, the government's lying about this vaccine and natural immunity is better and all this other things, those same people are going to trust the advice of a doctor when they get cancer. They're going to trust the advice of a doctor when they break their arm. They're going to trust the advice of a doctor when they get a carrot stuck up their asshole. They're going to go to the doctor and believe what she has to say, because that's what you do with doctors. It would be like if somebody went to a mechanic and said, well, I heard on Facebook that if I pour Cheerios in my gas tank, it'll run better. That doesn't make it fucking right. And you need to believe the person who's telling you this shit. And it's also really important to point out that there are bad scientists out there is another really important thing, is you have fucking smooth brains like Robert Malone, who their whole platform is to not only say, hey, this doesn't work, but my thing does, It's
my thing
when you
that
have
makes
these,
some sort of money.
Exactly. When you have these people out there, they say, oh, your Dr. Oz is another great example. Dr. Oz, who has been proven over and over 50% of the shit that he says isn't real. And so we have this guy get up there, but he is a doctor. Okay.
Oh boy.
If you have a mechanic, go back to the same example. If your mechanic says, exactly, Mendel is a doctor. Exactly.
Okay.
If you have a mechanic that tells you that, if you knock the windshield wipers off your car, that makes the more torque on the back tires. That makes no goddamn sense. You're still a mechanic. You're just a shit mechanic. So if you have a doctor that says that, hey, vaccines don't work, you're still a doctor. You're just a shitty doctor. We should go with the good doctor say.
So on that, so I got COVID like a couple months ago, right? And I told my mom. I don't really talk to my mom, but I was like, okay, this is something that maybe I should tell her. That one thing, that pseudoscience thing where it was he take a horse, like tranquilizer, dewormer thing.
Ivermectin.
She said, hey, you should ask your doctor if this will fuck up with your liver or whatever. See if you can take ivermectin. I was just okay, what is this? I looked it up and I was like, hell no.
You should ask your doctor that, and if he says yes, get a different doctor.
Exactly. She asked you to talk to your doctor about ivermectin?
Yes.
Not about... not about Pfizer or Moderna.
If you call the doctor to talk to them about ivermectin, you better have a pet.
And
listen, I didn't
doctor
really
better be a
have
veterinarian.
Any vaccines that I didn't actually need until I moved. My mom was firm anti-vaxxer. And so she said that, and then she was just like, if your doctor says no, then I got it from a tractor shop for me and your brother. And I was just like,
boy.
I just want to share really quick that ivermectin in Tractor Supply in my town is locked up.
It's locked up in my town.
Are stealing that
Yep.
shit.
And the thing is,
in my town where people have livestock,
he went to
and
Tractor
look at the
Supply and
ivermectin
stole
thing.
ivermectin to treat their
I
COVID so
love
much
living
they
in
had to lock it
California.
up.
That's all I can say.
That is
I
a
love living
true
in
fucking
California.
story.
And
also just like Florida.
And Forrest, what I'd also like to
I
add,
hate it here.
What I'd also like to add to what Forrest said is that how would natural immunity mitigate the spread of COVID if more and more people got it, and if so many people got it, and they developed natural immunity to it, how would it stop the spread of COVID if so many people got it already?
Well, that's the point. Is that like you're saying we should spread COVID more to stop COVID from spreading, and that makes no goddamn sense because that's how viruses continue spreading. Every time they spread to a new host, they replicate their DNA or their RNA or whatever. Depends on the type of virus. There's six,
and they
just
evolve
like
and adapt.
Excuse me. They can develop new mutations. They can. So, like for example, the flu is a class 5 virus. That means that it has negative sense or minus sense single-stranded RNA. So what that means is the RNA code for the flu is written backwards. So when it gets into your cells, you have to copy it to a positive sense RNA, and then from there you can make new flu viruses. So it's twice as much replication. That's a huge problem. I don't need the HPV because only whores need it. You get HPV from a goddamn doorknob. Anyway, but like
my mom said that I would turn into a vegetable if I got HPV vaccine.
Lord,
you turn into a vegetable.
Well,
like
jokes on
a
my
zucchini?
mom. I'm a whore without it. Just kidding.
But with COVID, it's a class 4 virus. It has positive sense single-stranded RNA, so it replicates differently and it mutates a little bit slower. But every single time it gets a chance to mutate, it has a chance to evolve and become a totally new strain, and all of our vaccines are useless. Or not. Nice.
That's our band name.
Well, yes, there it is. We found it.
There we go.
Carly, thank you so much.
Nailed it.
Oh my god.
So
I mean,
But,
people
like-
hear like one term, like natural immunity, and they go off the fucking rails. You know?
Well, because they think
That's
it means
Nobel
I'll never
Prize
catch
winner.
anything.
Yeah, that's
And
not-
like
that's
that's
no.
nonsense.
And-
So
and
like
it
you're
translates to
allowing it to spread and
invincibility
mutate
to them.
An argument that they use is, well, before we had vaccines, we had natural immunity and we were fine.
And people
No,
died.
the fuck we weren't. Look at an old
Black
time
Plague?
cemetery.
They fucking died. You have to,
Disease
bitch. Like
is nature's population control.
They're filled with people that died of this, this fever,
Well,
that fever.
it's the
dysentery,
same
this,
people. It's the same people that are now like, well, I don't know why it matters about formula. Like babies were fine before formula. They just breastfed.
Yeah.
No, they fucking
Fuck, they
died.
didn't.
Yeah,
They
they
Like,
died.
what the fuck?
Well,
The
but also-
mortality rate was like
They died a lot.
50%.
But also, people like, if a woman has like a 4-month baby, like, and
Yes, Jim.
she's
Sorry.
been feeding with formula, like,
Mhm.
that's not like just not gonna. the
Just
milk
turn your
product-
tits back on. Just that's easy,
Also,
right? Yeah.
That historically, women were able
Eat
to
some
be,
oatmeal cookies. You'll be
around
fine.
their kids rather than not only having
Which are delicious, by the way,
6
Ricky.
weeks.
Well,
They had, like,
oatmeal cookies
years.
help increase lactation.
Oh,
Don't
and
ask
by
me
the
how I
way,
know
Brittany,
that.
Brittany had some
Forrest.
special ones that I ate.
Yeah.
They were so good.
And Forrest,
They're not bad.
what I'd also like to add is that Forrest, since you're the big science guy, aren't there like
Big science guy.
several different ways you can measure like antibody resistance, natural immunity? Aren't there like different ways to do it? Because the problem with the Israeli study that they're citing is that they didn't make it clear how they measure natural immunity because there's so many ways to measure it.
Yeah, this is one that there are molecular biologists and immunologists and medical doctors that are going to be way more qualified to critique that study than I ever could be. But like I will say, like, yeah, there's when you're looking at these things, a lot of the big studies that have been pushed around and saying, oh, see, this one proves this, that, the other. They're either like just a thesis, or it's like or an abstract where it's like, this is kind of what we think might happen. We're going to test it. And they're like, well, it says science at the top. It's like, right. They haven't done it yet. They're just saying maybe that, or it's a study on a very limited population. Like there was that big one going around that was like, young boys are 50 times more likely to get myocarditis from the vaccine than from COVID. And when you read the fucking study, it was a group of like 10 kids that were all in the same football team that all had a different condition as well. And it's like, but they took just the raw percentage from that and blasted all over the news. And the big issue with all of this is that, these big sexy headlines sell a lot of newspapers and they make people click on your links and everything. And so it sucks as you start to sound like a Trump supporter where you're like, this is fucking fake news. They're in the business of making money and they're misleading you in order to make money. And the problem with that is that now that irresponsibility is costing lives. And so like back when they were like, what Mitch McConnell just did a minute ago. The Democrats tried to pass, they tried to codify abortion rights, and Mitch McConnell came out and said this law would ban, would allow a person to get an abortion. But he said that, like,
I have some
he
ideas
said
on
that it would
that.
allow.
Yeah,
up till the
until
moment of giving birth.
the moment
Yes.
of birth.
He said that the new law proposed, which is fucking nonsense, obviously, would allow you, like, in labor to just jam a knife in your belly and kill the baby, and that's
Ben
fine.
Shapiro said the same thing like 2 days ago.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
no.
fucking
Ben
madness.
Shapiro
But
often
it gets
thinks
people
that
to pay
if
attention.
vagina is wet, it's ill.
First of all,
Why does anybody listen to fucking Ben Shapiro?
On anything.
Beyond-
Good
Hi,
Lord.
I'm Ben Shapiro, and I talk
Hold
really
up.
I
Who
think
said
really
I'm
if
Ben
vagina-
Shapiro, and
I
I've
know
never
a lot
had my
about
life read.
vaginas. I'm
Wait,
Ben
hold on.
Shapiro.
I need sickness to
My
hear
wife
this.
is a
Ben
doctor.
Shapiro said that if a vagina is wet, there's something wrong with it. Bitch, how are
Yeah.
you going to tell on yourself like that? Like,
Because
how
he's
are
a
you going to
fucking-
announce to the
because
world
he
that
has
it's
Too
no
wet, it's a
concept
medical problem.
of anything.
My cup is drier
No, if
than
it's
Ben's
too
wife.
wet, you're doing something right.
If
You
pee
fucking-
hard, then ill.
And anyway,
Then ill.
Well, you know,
But you have this fucking human sneeze who gets up here and says this shit about how this is what abortion care is actually happening. It doesn't make any goddamn sense, but it sells, it gets people to pay attention to him,
Yep.
and it riles
That's
up the
exactly
base.
what it
And
is.
unfortunately,
People have
when people
absolutely
say
no
that to me-
understanding of statistics. Zero.
Yeah.
As someone who studied statistics,
I would absolutely
when I
debate
listen to
Ben
people,
Shapiro.
I'm like,
I'd pay to watch that shit.
hell.
I
would.
Is
I would
debate
too.
Ben
All
Shapiro
the
like
popcorn.
code for
Remember when Ben
bare
Shapiro
knuckles
I
got
would
and
sued by
pay
an
to
elementary
debate
schooler?
Ben Shapiro.
There you
But
go.
I wouldn't pay Ben Shapiro to pay Ben Shapiro.
So
enough.
here's
I'd
what
pay
I
Ben
really
Shapiro
think.
to walk off the
debate
bridge.
Ben
I
Shapiro.
would, but I try not
Whenever
to like
people-
fight
no.
children. So
Oh God.
You're a better man than me.
So whenever someone says that, or they're like, oh yeah, up until like the moment of birth that they kill it, I'd be
That's
like,
not
I
abortion,
need you
then.
to show me. No, I was like, I need you to show me
thanks, Gomez.
peer-reviewed cases where this has happened and the doctor and
super
every
sticker.
other nurse and everyone involved did not
Thank you, Anton.
permanently lose their license, and their
Mhm.
people aren't in prison because
Well, Rhea, you just got to do your own research.
no, I'm like, 'cause you can Google it. You can Google it, and doesn't happen anywhere in the country because that doctor would immediately lose their license.
Courageous.
Yep.
You would think.
I want
Listen, they Googled it too, and you're wrong. So.
and courageous.
Because Ben Shapiro said they'll Google it and be like, but look at this quote that Ben Shapiro said, and I'm like,
I
that's
saw
not
on
evidence.
freedomeaglear15.com it said this thing. So there's my source.
Okay,
Courageous.
Debunked.
Courageous. I want to add to what you just said, because here's the thing: the vast majority of abortions, like 95% of abortions, take place when the fetus is just 14 weeks old, and very, very
Or
few abortions are
smaller.
performed at the third trimester. And the only time they are performed is when the mother's life is at risk. And for the record, if a newborn baby is killed outside the womb, like after it's born, then it's not technically an abortion, because an abortion would only take place in the woman's uterus.
Well, see,
but
what
isn't
happened to
like-
me then? Because right before I was born, I wrapped the umbilical cord around my neck, and I died. So I was stillborn. So what the? I aborted myself, bitches.
Suicide?
Like,
Preemptive suicide?
Well,
I've seen what I need to see.
Let's see.
I'm
I
out.
was so powerful that I couldn't kill myself. So am I weak or am I powerful? I don't.
You know what?
Don't know yet.
Same though. Mine's like a couple years in the future than being a baby. But like,
Right?
Same.
Well,
What I always
I had my umbilical cord wrapped around my neck twice.
Nice. Brag
Yeah.
about it.
Nice.
Overachiever.
Nice.
The thing
Um,
is, the
no, but
dumbing down of the American education system, which, like, I know everybody says that, but here's the thing, right? Like, I am not a genius by any stretch of the imagination, but when I went to the college, when I went to college, the amount of
college, the only one.
teachers or professors that had to say, like, yeah, no, that's not actually, not to me, fortunately, but like, that's not a source. That's not a source you can use. That's fucking People magazine. Or like, and people just couldn't understand. And I went to a good college.
Wait,
and
which
like,
source are we talking about?
I did not.
so when I went to university, to the college, I majored in economics and with the focus on like statistics. And you would think that like at some point in those 4 years, people would get it through the old noggin, what a peer-reviewed source is, right? Like you would think. We're writing papers all the time. We're doing like pretty involved math, and then people write their essays, and it'll be like the footnote, and it's like People Magazine.
Yeah.
Bitch,
No,
what?
that doesn't work.
Like that is who's the peers reviewing People Magazine? Like people.
I saw people turn in anthropological papers and they had cited Graham Hancock.
See, I took college courses in high school and I still learned all this. Like, also, people don't realize how good a source Wikipedia is because it links directly to where you need to be.
But you need to not cite Wikipedia.
Yeah. Wikipedia isn't a source, but Wikipedia is a source of sources. You know, it's pretty nice.
But here's the thing, Forrest. Like the one argument I always hear against citing Wikipedia is, "Oh, you can't trust Wikipedia because people edit that." Like, do they not realize that Wikipedia has very strict editing standards when it comes to like editing their articles?
Right, but even that, like I said, you had a question.
Well, I wanted to throw this out there. Wikipedia also has a whole team of lawyers that require all of their stuff to have references and sources to avoid this thing called plagiarism.
Yep. So like I said, it's a source of sources. You can't cite Wikipedia, but you can go down to the bottom and find where they got the information. And you can then, even if you have to go another layer and another layer, or you can just go to goddamnscholar.google.com. It's fucking make it real easy on yourself.
I aced all of my college literature classes due to Wikipedia, so thank you very much for all those sources. You know, shout out.
Hey, shout out to the guy that invented copy paste.
Yep.
I wouldn't have passed high school without that.
Yeah.
Thanks, Natty Gates.
Justin,
you got to have computers in high school?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. And Justin, keep this in mind.
Only an animation class.
And Justin, whenever I copied and pasted stuff from Wikipedia into my essays from my high school, whenever I would copy paste like certain paragraphs, I would rewrite some of the wording in the paragraphs.
Yeah,
just my words.
Just delete a few words here and there. Change.
Yeah, to like use the same sentence but word it slightly differently. So if someone said, however.
Random off-topic thing. Hey, Sickness, that's a real cool sword behind you. Look at that. Look at
Oh,
that
really?
beauty.
You like my sword?
I wonder who could have made that piece of wonderfulness.
You like my husband's sword here? Technically,
Oh, you like that? Hey, who made that? That looks
Yeah,
pretty
who
good.
could have made that?
Some pretty handy craftsmanship there.
Is that
Wow.
cardboard? Just kidding.
No.
Okay, how can you?
That is hardwood. All right.
That's what she said.
I worked hard.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Good job, Queen.
I worked hard on that hardwood.
It's
Getting
very
that
sick.
hardwood straight and
You
erect
sanded that wood.
took a lot of
Y'all,
effort. on my
I'm a
part.
12-year-old boy inside.
Nice.
I think
can't
we all are, to be
make
perfectly
those
honest.
jokes.
On the tales of Ricky's wood, I'm gonna go ahead and go get some foods. But it's been a pleasure,
Foods,
y'all.
man.
Thanks so much for having me.
Aw,
Oh, I was
please.
gonna
Talk
Don't
to
look at
you
my
later.
jokes. Just kidding.
If only-
Let go, Forrest.
It was a
I'll get you
pleasure
on my
meeting
talk
everybody.
show sometime for it.
Most definitely, yeah. I'll have me back sometime when we do things. But I've been
It was
streaming
nice
since
meeting you,
fucking
Forrest.
6.
So nice meeting
It's a
you.
pleasure meeting all of you. Heathen Queen, I didn't really meet you, but hi, my name's Forrest.
I think we're gonna be on the line together at some point in the nearish future. So
Radical, sounds great. Yeah,
I'm
Just
going to
saying.
be
I'll
online too in the
message
near
you on
future.
somewhere.
So the three of
Yeah,
us will
yeah,
probably
just-
cross
yeah.
paths.
I'm just saying,
Justin.
Forrest, you should
Yeah, it
probably
was nice
follow me
meeting
back
you.
on TikTok. I mean, be really cool of you.
Yeah.
So I
I'll
do
tell
Twitter
you my
sometimes.
story later.
Follow me back on TikTok.
So many
Okay.
words.
All right,
All right, I'll see you later, guys. Bye.
See you later. Bye. All right.
Yeah.
Oh,
God,
man.
I love that man.
Is Infidel
It
still
is getting
here?
late.
'Cause
I've been
I
on for 3 hours. I am drunk as shit.
past
and
midnight for
It's
you.
past
Are you now?
midnight.
Wait, you're drunk already?
Yeah, it's
It's
past
been drinking
midnight.
for
Of
3
course, I'm
hours.
drunk.
But we didn't like.
I'm not. At this point, my drunkenness is like tapering off, and I'm starting to sober up.
Yeah,
So-
you're drinking so much.
Did you have like a breathalyzer in your home?
I don't. I should have invested in one though.
You can
Just so
pay
you can
for it with
monitor
a
how
health
drunk-
savings card.
Well,
I'm not drunk. I'm being hyperbolic.
Hey,
Well,
Dapple.
well, here's the thing. I was born in a Muslim family, so I can't really have drink because I don't want to upset my parents. So
That
This,
sucks.
this
Can I
tattoo
head you
is
off
my
at the
grandmother's
pass and
tattoo
say-
that she got to piss off her mother. It's fine.
You will always, in some way, shape, or form, piss off your parents.
Oh yeah,
Just do it.
Just go.
I mean, I pissed off my brother constantly by skipping my prayers.
Hey, one sin or 1,000, you're going to hell. You might as well go down as a legend. Okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
Right.
Yeah. And
okay.
Okay, I wanted to ask Ricky a question about sin since we brought up sin.
Yes.
Ricky, since you're the big Christian scholar here, in Christianity, are all sins considered equally bad, or are there some sins that are worse than others?
It depends what denomination you ask. Some denominations will say yes, some will say no, and the ones who say no will base their doctrine on verses like I think it's in Timothy. Help me out, Heathen Queen, if you're familiar.
Sorry, what were you talking about?
Sins being equal versus the denominations that believe that sin is not equal. So there's verses that say those who teach more is expected of them. So those denominations will take that verse and say that if you're a teacher or a pastor or something, there's a higher standard that you are held to based on that verse.
Yeah. What is it?
There's another verse that says like those who have the knowledge will be held to a higher standard. It might be the same verse I'm thinking of. You know what I'm talking about, though, right?
Yeah.
It might be in James.
And James sounds right, actually.
Not many of you should become teachers, my brothers, for you know that we who teach will be judged with greater strictness.
Yes, that's the one.
Yeah.
Oh, speaking of the Bible, did y'all see my Bible joke earlier?
Yeah.
No.
I
I've
made a lot
not
of
been on
jokes.
TikTok the last 2 days.
I was not on TikTok. It's in the chat.
Oh, in the chat?
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay. I mean, here's one joke we can sign off with. What's the difference between Jesus and a picture of Jesus?
Something about a nail. A picture only needs one nail to hang.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It only takes a nail to hang a picture of Jesus. Just one nail.
You know how a hot dog's made? Or what's in a hot dog? Yeah,
Same as
organs,
hot dogs.
meat, bones. It's on a stick. Is a hot dog Jesus? Is Jesus a corn? Or no, wait. Corn dog.
Corn dog.
Is Jesus a corn dog? Is corn dog?
I gotta go.
Is a hot dog a sandwich?
This is like, is a hot dog a sandwich? Yeah, joke.
No,
hot dog is not.
More doors or wheels.
All right, we got to end the stream before that goes any further.
Before we fight over that?
Gotta run.
That's gonna be a whole other hour conversation right there.
Okay. Bye.
Thanks for having us on, Ricky.
Bye. Thanks,
Thanks,
you.
guys. Love y'all. Thank you for joining. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, Ricky,
This
can I
appreciate
talk to you
y'all.
backstage after it's over? The live is over. Or whatever.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll let you know.
Okay.
See you guys.
But anyways, it was so nice doing this stream with you. I absolutely loved it. It was my first time on here, and I absolutely enjoyed every minute of it.
Awesome. Glad you enjoyed it.
Yeah.
After
Good
party?
night, everybody.
All right.
Hey.